Welcome back to the Something in the Wilderness podcast. This week, we'll be recapping the Three Pianos Philly experience, including the solo show at the old TLA and Three Pianos show at the Mann Center in Philadelphia. I decided that since it's the 6-year anniversary of the podcast this week, I'd do something a little bit different. So I invited 2 different guests to the show to talk about the 2 different shows in Philadelphia first. So this episode will be focused on the Philadelphia experience, and then we'll have another episode next time on the Chicago experience. This first conversation will be with Kristin, and we'll be talking about the show at the old TLA. Hey, welcome, Kristin.
Hi, it's so good to be back.
Yeah, thank you for coming back to the show and talking to me today about the show. It is Three Pianos Month, and I want to talk to you specifically about our experience at the TLA, since I was glad to get to see you there, get to meet in person. It was so exciting for that, but then, the show in general was just amazing, and I want to hear about your experience.
Yeah, the show was awesome, fantastic. I've been to a lot of Andrew shows and a lot of concerts in general, and I would definitely put this show, I don't know, I'd have to really think hard about top order of shows in my life for Andrew shows, but I would put it towards the top in both categories.
Right out of the gate, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I've seen Andrew just on a piano a few times, and it just hits different. You know, I've seen him with his band, which I love. I love rocking out. I love singing along. But there's something that feels so intimate about a piano-only show with Andrew. And this one in particular, and I can't wait to get into it, he was on. He was on it, with the quips and stories and just jokes and, playing off the crowd. And I thought that was, something... I've seen a little bit of that. Don't get me wrong. There's a little bit of that in every show. But there's a little bit more of it when it's just him and a piano. And we can talk about maybe why that is. But he was funnier than he usually is. My friend Laura and I, who's sitting next to me, we're talking about, he's like a comedian up there, just playing off the crowd, pulling things out of the audience. So I definitely want to talk about those moments.
Yeah.
The venue was the Theater of the Living Arts, also known as the TLA or the old TLA. The date was August 6th. It was a Thursday in Philadelphia, and of course it was a solo show. Let's talk about the venue, Kristin. So you hadn't been to the TLA before, right?
No, I've been to a lot of shows in Philadelphia before. I grew up in New Jersey, and now I live in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So Philly has always been within 2 hours of me, but I've never been to the TLA before. And actually, I didn't know that the venue existed until your podcast episode of Hey, Hey, Hey is actually how I found out that the TLA is even a venue. Because in the song, I never knew what it actually meant until your episode said that it was actually a venue in Philadelphia. So it was my first time actually going there, and I only learned about it from the song.
That's so cool. I've been to Philadelphia once before this last week. And I've never seen the venue, never knew where it was. I'm not familiar enough with the geography of the city itself, the layout of the city, to know where I would have found it. I had to look at a map, of course, like a lot of people. So I didn't know what it looked like. I thought for some reason it was renamed, but I guess not. I guess it's still the TLA, the Theater of the Living Arts, but I don't know why. And I feel like I said that in that episode, but maybe not. Anyway, it's still the TLA, and we were there for it, and so.
Yeah, we were.
I was, before we get to set list, I'll just say, I was because you said it, I was fully expecting to play that song at some point. So I was would have been shocked if he didn't. And I was kind of going in, we're going to hear that song. We have to hear that song. And if he doesn't, I would have been a little disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt like that was a given.
Yeah.
He had to play the song that he wrote about the venue when playing it.
Right. I think they always get it there at that venue. I've heard that from someone before, and I might be off on that, but I liked the layout of the neighborhood. I walked up, took a picture in front of the sign, and before the show, before we get too deep into the venue, about going in and everything, I organized a little happy hour down the street, and there was 8 people that showed up. It was cool. It was nice, comfortable, small crowd that we could actually all talk to each other, which was nice. And you were able to stop by before VIP because you went to VIP, right?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to make the happy hour because it started really soon before the VIP started. But I went to go check out the venue for VIP and found out that they were running a little behind and they weren't quite ready to go
Hmm.
yet. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going down to happy hour. So I got to come briefly, but I got to come meet you in person, have a drink, talk to other fans. So that was a really nice way to kind of kick off the night and the whole Three Pianos weekend.
Yeah, I really appreciate you stopping by because it is cool. I was telling a friend that just the other day who I also met, who I'd never met in person, but only met on Zoom for this podcast. I was like, it's kind of surreal meeting people in person, like after you've had such lengthy conversations on Zoom, had great conversations, and like, but then it's like in person, it just feels a little different, like a little bit more personal.
Definitely. It was a lot of fun. Like I hadn't met you in person before and Dark Blue Chris was
Yeah.
there who I've, talked to online
Hmm.
before. And Christy, who I've been talking to on Instagram forever. We DM back and forth and comment on each other's
Hmm.
stuff. And we'd never met in person. And I actually had met Ariel in person a couple times before, but she was there as well. But she's someone that I had talked to online before ever meeting in person.
Yeah.
So I felt like the people that were at the happy hour were all people that I had lengthy conversations with online that I had never actually met. So that was really cool to kind of finally connect with people.
I like the way you put that earlier. It was like a good way to like kick off the night and the week, just to kind of like get in there and like talk to a few fans because it's I don't know, it's exciting. It's like I go to concerts alone, and I technically went alone. I went solo on this trip, but like it's nice when you get to meet up with other fans and talk about the excitement of what you're about to see, and even afterward talk about the excitement of what you just saw. So it's kind of a special thing. How was VIP?
VIP was awesome.
Yeah.
I actually haven't done that many VIP. I only have done the Jack's Mannequin tour the year before and this one were
Hmm.
my only two Andrew VIPs that I've done. So I like kind of knew what to expect going in, like had kind of what the format would be. But this one was particularly cool. It was a very small crowd and like very intimate.
Hmm.
And we shared a bottle of champagne, or probably more than one bottle of champagne. They like passed out champagne to do a toast to kick off
Yeah.
the whole three piano thing. And I have the champagne cork. It had like fallen underneath my chair, kind of. And I saw it and I grabbed it. I stuck it in my purse.
Yeah.
So I do have the cork from the champagne from the
Little
VIP.
extra souvenir.
Yeah, but it was pretty fantastic. He basically took requests the whole time. He was doing sound check when we kind of walked into the venue.
Hmm.
So I think he got most of his actual sound check out of the way. So when we came in there, he ran through, I think, like one song that he kind of wanted to run through and then just took requests. So
Nice.
that was pretty cool. And someone had requested Globes and Maps, which is one of my very, very, very favorite songs ever that he really doesn't play anymore.
Wow, perfect.
And I heard it once at a Something Corporate song in 2005. And
Hmm.
that's the only time I had heard it live. So getting to hear that in such an intimate environment, like there was, I don't know, maybe 20 people or so in VIP.
Hmm.
So it was really cool. The VIP was awesome.
Yeah, I've never seen Globes and Maps live either. For the sound check, were you guys sitting in the same seats that we would be sitting in for the show then?
Yeah, they told us just to find our seats and then like we could move a little bit if we needed to. Seats were
Yeah.
empty. Like people like had seats that weren't at VIP. Like you could kind of move more to the center if you needed to. But
Okay.
pretty much he just said go in and find your.
So something I noticed about the venue is it's definitely a rock club. Like it's a typical like club. Like I'm gonna name some like that I've been to: the Newport in Columbus, St. Andrews in Detroit, 930 Club even in DC, and or the Wrecker in Baltimore. And it felt like that, but with folding chairs, which like was
Yeah.
kind of like weird, right? That was a little
Yeah.
that threw me off a little bit. I knew that's what to expect because they told us like we bought seats, so like we knew there'd be seats, and I knew it was like a rock club. So that what'd you think about that setup?
Yeah, it definitely felt like it should be a standing only, like kind of like all pit kind of
Yeah,
venue. Like
sure, yep.
like you were talking about, like a rock club where, everyone just kind of stands and crowds
Hmm.
in there. But yeah, the folding chairs to turn it into a seated venue was a little interesting, and they really packed them in there.
Yeah,
So
Laura and I joked we were hip to hip and shoulder to shoulder with everyone, next to us. So whether we liked it or not, and I was okay with it, except for it was hot. It was so hot in there. I wouldn't say that's a complaint. It's just like what, it's a concert. Like if we would have been standing all tightly together, we would have been warm too. But yeah, and I guess if you look at it that way, you'd be body to body usually with people if you're standing anyway. But like it was just so. I guess for a seated show, like they were like, I don't even know how wide, but the view was good. Like I was third row back on stage, right, Andrew's right, my left, and you were on Andrew's left or your right, correct?
yeah, well, I actually had a little snafu with my seat.
Oh, what
So
happened?
I actually I don't know if this is almost fortuitous or not, but I was not sitting shoulder to shoulder and butt to butt with anyone
No?
because my seat was, yeah, it was on second row. If I'm looking at the venue on the right side, it's supposed to be second row on the right side, and it was directly under the air conditioner. And
Like before you go any further, I would think that'd be a
yeah,
good thing, right? Because then air would be blown down on you, or
well, not air.
uh-oh.
Condensation was coming out of the air
Oh
conditioner
no.
and pouring directly onto my seat.
Pouring?
And
Like not dripping, pouring.
yes, dripping, dripping, but not tiny little drips, like not like drip and then 5 minutes later drip. It was probably one drip every 5 to 10 seconds to the point where it probably throughout the course of the entire show, it probably dripped close to a gallon of water,
On you?
if not more. Well, Philly started raining on me.
Yeah.
I am very non-confrontational, and I like really don't like complaining about anything, but I had to go talk to someone from the venue.
Like during the show, or was this before the show?
So luckily, because I had VIP, I realized what was happening at the VIP
Yeah.
because I did sit in my regular seat and it was happening during VIP.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I was able to move easily in VIP because there was only like 20 people there.
Yeah.
And then after, like between VIP and the show, I went to go talk to someone from the venue. I'm like, I hate to do this. Like, I know it's a seated show and it's a sold out show, and like we all have assigned seats, but like, I can't do this. And
Yeah.
they saw what was happening, and the puddle on the floor just from during VIP, like, or the puddle on my chair, like once I moved off
Hmm.
the chair was like wet, wet. And then they ended up removing my chair, and I could see that the puddle that collected on the floor throughout the show looked like someone spilled a gallon bucket of water on the
Whoa.
floor. It was like that much water, but they ended up putting me over in like the aisle, kind of.
Hmm.
So I was still like even with the second row, but I was like all the way off to the right. So I was kind of sitting by myself.
Okay.
So I had a little more room.
Did you still have a decent view, I hope?
I did.
Okay.
I was like all the way over to the right, like
Yeah.
beyond where the seats should be.
Okay.
But it beat getting rained on the entire
Yeah, I'd
show.
say I'd say yeah, that's a better situation than what you would have had.
Yeah.
It's good to say
So
something
so
sometimes.
I wasn't packed in with anyone around me. So there was like an empty spot where my seat was that I just watched the AC just rain onto the ground,
Yeah.
like right where I would have been sitting.
I was surprised at how close the first row. I was kind of surprised, not terribly, but just a little bit surprised how close the first row was to the stage. I mean, there was walking room, but I would say I can't remember exactly, but I would say if there was a photographer in the room that normally takes pictures from in front of the stage, there would not have been room for for a photographer. And I remember I know this or I was thinking of this because I told my photographer friend that like I didn't see anybody up front. Usually I see someone taking pictures right up front in front of the first row of people seated or standing, and there was no obviously no barricade, but no room for a photographer up there because I walked up there and talked to some friends right up front, leading up to the show, and I got a picture in front of the piano, which was really cool, by the way. But like before the show, yeah, there was not much room up there, and then not a whole lot of leg room. Probably a normal amount for a seated show, though. Like I'm not complaining. It's just like, yeah. So they had us pretty tightly packed in there, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like the front row almost, their knees probably almost touched the stage. It looked like that.
I would say that's true. Yes. All right, you ready to get in the set list? Let's talk about the songs.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Opening song. Were you surprised by the opening song?
I was not. The opening song was Hey, Hey, Hey. That was the most appropriate song to open with, considering he referenced the TLA, and we were at the TLA. So.
Ironically, I'm going to say I'm not surprised they played it. He played it. Sorry, he played it. I am surprised he opened with it. I didn't expect that. So like, but that was a great moment for me, like for the obvious reasons, right? It's the song that references the venue, but like I didn't expect to hear it right off the bat. But to your point, it does make sense. Like, why wouldn't you open with that? I don't know why. I was just kind of like expecting like the set would go on. It would be like I guess a typical opener of his, maybe. I don't know, whatever that is. And then eventually we'd get there and everybody would like be, oh yeah, it's the song. But he like right out the gate, he came out. I was first surprised by like, again, we talked about it's like a rock club, like how bare the stage looked. Like, I guess, I don't know that I've ever seen like a rock club stage like with nothing on it. There was nothing on it except the piano. I mean, pretty much piano bench, microphones. But that kind of that was kind of cool to see. Like, it was just so like clean and neat looking, and then he just walks out and he's like, I can't remember what he said at all, but like maybe like, hey, hi, and then he just sat down and like, and he might have said something more, but and then he went right into that song. He was right to do that. It was the perfect start to that show.
Yeah, I think that show was in such contrast to the Three Piano show like
Definitely.
2 nights later,
Hmm.
because I know we're not talking about the Three Piano show right now, but spoiler alert, the set behind the bands was very intricate,
Yeah.
with like a screen and like, lots of things happening on the stage, whereas the solo show was literally just Andrew and piano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No backdrop,
no.
not even a backdrop.
Yep, which was really cool, like just very stripped down, like very intimate feeling.
It made it feel more intimate, like special, like this is the focal point. It is Andrew on his piano, and that's it. We're not looking at anything else here, which is in stark contrast, like you said, to the Three Piano show. And maybe because I kind of knew that was coming, obviously, but also the Jax tour last fall and
Mhm.
summer was very intricate, and video screens and all that. And so it was just a little like surprising. I was like, wow, it's just Andrew here. So I appreciated that. Do you feel like the crowd was like into it, like the song and the show itself at the beginning? Like, do you feel like the crowd was like the energy was there, or what did you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. Like when he like kind of pointed out to the crowd when he said at the old TLA, and everyone kind of
Yeah.
did TLA with it. Like
Yeah.
I think everyone was into it from right from the start.
I think so too. I mean, you got to imagine these are mostly not casual fans. There's nothing wrong with casual fans, by the way, but like, I'm just saying, like, the way these tickets went on sale and got scooped up so quick. I know there was some resale at the end, and like, I actually met a girl who scooped up a ticket like an hour before the show, and which was really, I mean, she was really excited. But like, for the most part, these are the people who were like on the computer at that moment selecting the tickets. And being that this was the first show on the, it's not even a tour, it's just like the first show in the set of Three Pianos slash solo shows this month. I thought the crowd was like you could feel it. Like, it was just like this bubbling energy in the crowd as he came out and then busted into that song. Yeah, it was a great moment. We're not going to go through the whole set list, Kristin, but like, I did want to say, so High Dive was one standout for me, and I'm only bringing it up now because it was the third song in the set, and we can skip around, by the way. High Dive is quickly, in the last 5 years or so, it's become one of my favorite Andrew songs, I've realized recently. And it's in large part because of him performing it live. We almost always hear it, and
Mhm.
I'm 100% always okay with it, like good with it, because whether he's playing High Dive on a piano only, or he's playing it with his band, I think it is amazing, and it hits me in the heart every single time. Are you a High Dive fan?
I am. I would agree with you. That's definitely one that like I'm never going to be upset to hear.
Yeah.
Like I always enjoy it.
It didn't surprise me to be in the set list, but it surprised me the way I felt. And I think it usually does. I'm like, oh my gosh, this always hits me so hard when he plays it. And it hits different than on the album. I love the album version, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think seeing it in a live show so many times, or just at all, has made it really more special for me. Despite the fact that I find myself sometimes being like, oh, I hope he plays something we haven't heard before. There's something to be said about the ones he plays every time. It's like, yeah, I see why he plays that one, because it's a great song. What was a standout for you in the set list? So where do you want to start, I guess, is the best way to put it.
The song that kind of hit really hard for me and kind of surprised me was actually Crashin', because that song has like like the actual like album version of the song and the live version that he plays when he plays it with Jax. That song is like saddest lyrics, happiest beat. It's one of those songs that
On
like
the album, yeah.
it's such like a dancey song, and it has such a good rhythm, and you're kind of, it's a song that kind of gets you dancing. But the lyric, when you actually listen to the lyrics, that song is so sad. And when he played it on the piano, like a emo solo piano version, I felt very emotional during that song because like listening to the lyrics sang in that way, I was like, oh my gosh, this song is so sad. Which is weird that I picked a sad thing as a highlight, but
No,
I like to feel things.
I do. I do. Yeah.
Andrew makes us feel things.
It's a great way to put it. I like to feel things. Yeah. I agree with you. And I didn't really put that together why I appreciated that version of it so much, but I think you're onto something with the lyrics. It sounds like a different kind of song. Yeah, definitely. I like that one too. That wasn't even one I was gonna say, but you just like brought back a memory for me. I like sad music, so
Yeah.
and when
Sometimes you just need to feel things together, you know?
yeah, for sure. In an intimate show, again, you're still in a rock club, so like people are still like there to party. So it's just an interesting dynamics with some of it, which I definitely want to get into with some of the things that happened during this show, because like it went from serious like that to hilarious very quickly
Mhm.
at times.
It was funny. Like Andrew, like you said this a little bit before, but Andrew was so funny that night too.
Yeah,
Like his crowd work was spot on. Like he felt like a stand-up comedian sometimes, which was such a juxtaposition to the very intimate, emotional version of all these songs, and then him just being hilarious.
yeah.
Like it was such a like interesting dynamic going back and forth between him being really funny with the crowd and then playing these versions of these songs that just felt so emotional.
Yeah, let's talk about one of those moments. So there was
Sure.
he started to play Last Rites, and I know there's many of them. Again, we'll bounce around the set list. We're not going in any kind of order. When he played Last Rites, there was a guy, help me remember, there was a guy by the bar, which is not as far as apparently this guy thought it was from the stage. And Andrew commented on that. He's like, I could hear you, right? Like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
The way Andrew put it, he was kind of like loud whispering, but I feel like he yelled at the guy. He was like, Kimberly, like try to get it, whoever's
He's
attention.
trying to get his wife's attention. I
Wife,
think,
girlfriend, whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
like a Kimberly's attention, basically, down the bar, across the bar. Like, I don't know if he was like, what drink do you want? Do you want some water? Whatever he was doing over there. And Andrew like started like talking about it. Like, I can hear you. He's like, Kimberly, made a joke about it. And then was there something he said I know what he did with the song, but was there something he said into the introduction with that?
If I recall correctly, as he was about to play Last Rites, I think, when the guy at the bar was like, Kimberly, and Andrew's like, hey, Kimberly, I think someone needs you.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he like worked the name Kimberly into the song.
Yeah, in
I
place
think
of
he
Infinity, he
replaced,
was like,
yeah, yeah,
Kimberly,
yeah, yeah.
Kimberly. That was great. Yeah, because like that's another thing he was doing so well. he was doing callbacks to earlier jokes, which was
Yeah.
yeah. So whether that whole thing, I think you're right that it took place right before Last Rites, but like that point in the song was like 2 minutes in or whatever, and so everybody's like getting into the song, and then he's like Kimberly, like so it was like a callback to what happened a couple minutes ago, and just everybody erupted in laughter. And arguably, Last Rites is a pretty serious song too. Especially, again, it's another one on that is like you said about Crashin'. It is another one that like feels more poppy on the album, but feels like a very heavy emotional song when he plays it on piano. And that's what I love about that version. I've seen him do that once before. It's one of my wife's favorite songs by The Wilderness, and it's a different feel to it when he plays it on piano. But it was funny that he was able to like throw a joke in the middle of it and like lighten
Yeah.
the whole thing. And it didn't ruin it. It was just like it was fun. It made it fun, but also like a good sounding experience of the song.
He did that a lot during that show. And you're right. I think the funniest thing was the jokes that kind of continued through the whole night.
Yeah.
And they were jokes that happened in the moment. So it wasn't like pre-planned jokes. It was all
couldn't have been
spontaneous things that happened that night. And he would call back to them so well that like then like the humor kind of like built on those like recurring things. There was something about that with like the crowd work and all of that like just really added to the experience and just made it such a memorable show. Like it just felt so unique. That show lives in a bubble. Like you can never recreate that exact show. You could do the exact same set list again and it would be a completely different show without all of that little like crowd work and jokes that kind of continued through the night. And I think that made it really special. So yeah, Kimberly becoming part of Last Rites is definitely one of those highlights in the show for me.
Well, Kimberly is now part of the lore of the live show, at least for the solo shows, because he mentioned it, looking to the future. We're recording this after Chicago and and he actually called back to the Kimberly thing when he played Last Rites in Chicago. Yeah,
he brought it. That's so funny.
He brought it up, and I can't remember if he incorporated it into the song or not, but he did tell the story.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and there was a couple people in the room that were there at both and like laughed and like we were like, yeah, I remember that. Again, it was very well crafted, but in the moment, like nothing he could have come up with ahead of time. Like it was just like for that Philly show, I mean, to make that happen. There was something about a baby behind me, like 10 rows behind me. Like what was that about? I didn't quite catch what was going on. I know there was a baby there. I saw they lifted the baby up, and they had like the big headphones like I'm wearing, but
yeah, it was like halfway through the show, and the baby cried, I think, in the middle of a song, and Andrew didn't realize that there was a baby there until that moment.
Prior to that, yeah.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, because the baby was being quiet, it was probably either sleeping or happy,
yeah,
and then started crying in the middle of the show, and Andrew just like dead stopped and was like, a baby? Like there's a baby here. Like what's the baby's name? And and then I think they like held up the baby so he could see. But I don't remember if he was in the middle of the song or like in the middle of introducing a song.
I don't remember either.
He just like stopped. It was like a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think the baby's name was like Lila or Layla. And then he referenced the baby again. Like that was another thing that like got referenced later. Like I think the baby got another shout out later
I think he might have incorporated her name into the song or something.
Yeah, it might
or like
have
something
been.
about her into the song.
Yeah.
It's times like that where I wish I had more videos, but we talked offline ahead of time, and you were like, I didn't take many videos. I was like, I didn't either. I haven't even looked at my videos, to be honest. I should have watched them to prepare for this, but it probably would have reminded me more. But like, I haven't watched them yet. But I only took a couple. But my friend took more, and I'm hoping to see theirs. I did share yours on Instagram, by the way. That's funny. Like, someone at one of the Three Pianos shows was like, oh, I appreciate you sharing all the videos. And I was like, well, actually, I didn't share any of my videos. I just shared one of my friends. Like, she tagged me, so I shared hers, which worked out great. So thank you for that. So I was able to like share your awesome videos. And eventually I will share my own too. I'm getting around to it. Like I'm trying to like space them out a little bit. And so yeah, I know I have some videos, but things like that makes me wish I took more, because it's like, oh, I want to remember like what he said about that baby because it in the moment it was so funny. But I guess that's a live show for you. It only happens there, and sometimes
Mhm.
you're not going to remember all the details, but you remember that it was really fun. That's how I look at concerts in general. I don't remember a lot of details after the fact, but I know I had a hell of a time. You'd think we're wrapping up when I say that, but no, I want to talk about more songs for sure.
Sure.
I another one that really stood out to me was Paper Rain, and that one did surprise
Mm,
me a little bit. Like I didn't, I know we're always going to get High Dive and Firescape and Cecilia. I don't always know that we'll get Paper Rain. And I love the stories he tells with Paper Rain. I love the fact that it was a storyteller show, and that's how I describe it to people,
yeah.
whether they're an Andrew fan or not. And I was telling my parents yesterday, I was like, well, Three Pianos was like the big three bands rock show. This was more like a storyteller's, like a guy on stage with a piano and telling stories about his songs, and that's what this was. So, but I love Paper Rain in general. I don't think I like it better solo, but I like it differently. Kind of like I think we've repeated that theme a couple times, but like it hits different on just the piano. It's like this heavy weight song, like emotionally. Like it's kind of dark
Yeah.
when he plays it just on the piano. It feels a little darker to me.
That was, I think, a highlight for me too, because I actually don't know if I've heard that song live before. And
Oh.
it's a song that I really like. I do some online gambling, but not with money. Like I do a gambling app where it's all fake money.
Oh,
But
okay.
I like to play like blackjack and craps on this app. And my username for this app is Paper Rain
Oh,
because like it's a gambling reference that only Andrew McMahon fans would get
right.
that I'm sure no one, ever playing on this app gets, but I get it.
Yeah.
So Vapor Rain is definitely a song that I really enjoy that I don't necessarily ever expect him to play. And I don't think I've ever heard it live before. So I was a little excited about that. And I thought his story was really fun, just talking about, going to Vegas with his friends and he was like
Yeah.
16 years old and like,
Yeah. Yeah. Drinking beers when you're 16 and going to Vegas. I do not recommend for 16-year-olds in 2026, by the way. But like, yeah, it's when Andrew, like, I guess it's funny sometimes, like, even at our age, like, just thinking about the dumb things we used to do, but then also hearing about the dumb things that other people used to do when they're at our age. It's like, wow, that happened back then. We would never do some of those things nowadays, but like, or encourage like people of that age. Like I have kids now, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah, don't
gosh,
do
like,
that.
yeah, that's crazy. Like I
Don't listen
can't.
to Andrew's stories.
Yeah,
Don't model those.
yeah. He's even said that in some concerts. Kids, close your ears or something, something like that. Like, yeah, this is not good. But yeah, that was funny though. That I love when he tells the stories behind the songs, or even if it's not like about the song directly, just like the things that are on his mind about like his past. I love the lore, the history of Andrew, so to speak. I don't know what other song. How about another song that was like a big one for you in the set list, or like something significant for you?
Well, hearing Walking By is always a big highlight for me.
Hmm.
I actually heard it live during the Something Corporate tour. I guess that was what, 2 summers ago now?
It was 2 years ago.
At the 9:30 Club, he played Walking By, and I lost it during
Mm,
that. That was like one of my more surprising emotional moments at the Something Corporate
yeah.
version. I was not expecting to hear it. And because that was my second Something Corporate show of that tour. And Walking By was one of the ones like every night he would kind of rotate, like during the encore, he would like rotate in one, like, I think he was giving the band a break. He would like rotate in a solo acoustic song
Okay. Yeah.
and
I
like
do remember
each
that.
city was different.
Hmm.
So I was not expecting Walking By, and that was a song I really loved back in high school, back in the day, and something about hearing it, I started sobbing during it in DC, and I was not right at the barricade, but maybe like a row back and kind of in the center.
Hmm.
And Andrew like made eye contact with me during that song
Oh
and
wow.
like gave me this look like, girl, are you okay? Like I got that on video and it's kind of special, but also I definitely ruined my own video because I am like audibly like sobbing. And this time for Walking By, I held myself together a little better.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed being able to hear the song without me just sobbing uncontrollably during it. Like, I felt emotional, but not in the same way. And I was able to enjoy the song a little better and not be just trying to compose myself the whole time. So that was a big highlight. I was really excited that he played that one because that's one that he really does not play live very often. So
No,
that was a big highlight for me
I
for sure.
think I saw it at one of the SoCo shows, but that may have been the first time I saw it live, if I remember correctly. That was the one where he started like, so obviously he says girl from Virginia, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he made a joke about how when he mentions the names of the cities, people cheer, like if you're from there, and people cheered for Virginia, right? And then I don't remember where LA comes up in the song, but
Yeah, I think
apparently,
it's the second verse when he says
okay.
like she moved to LA in
She
the
moved to LA.
fireplace.
Oh, she
Yeah.
moved to LA. Okay. Yeah, I could not remember that. Someone booed or something LA. Like
Yeah.
cuz he was like having fun like, "Oh yeah, you cheer when you it's the state you're from." Haha, you know. And then someone booed LA.
Yeah, he got so mad too.
Yeah. Some people
Like
listening might think, "Oh, that's funny you booed LA," but like Andrew didn't think it was funny. Like I've never seen him
no,
react that way.
which is also why I think I'm glad that like this time I heard that song live, I was not in such an emotional state because
Mhm.
I was able to like laugh at that. And
Yeah,
if
it was
I was in the
funny.
same emotional state as I was during the Something Corporate show, I might not have been able to appreciate that like crowd dynamic. But
Mhm.
yeah, when he said move to LA, and he like pointed out at the crowd because someone had cheered when he said her mother was born in Virginia.
Yeah.
People from Virginia cheered, and then yeah, he got to move to LA, and he pointed out at the crowd, expecting there to maybe be someone from LA to
Yeah.
cheer, and Andrew was like, "Hey, take that personally," and he dropped an F bomb. I think he was like, "Hey,
Really?
yeah."
Okay. Oh
So
yeah,
that is
yeah,
a
yeah. He
video.
did because that's how I knew
I
he was
do
mad.
have
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
true.
because
Yeah.
I didn't take a ton of videos, but that's one video that I took because I wanted a better video of that song that didn't
Sure.
have me crying. So I do have that on video. And yeah, I think he dropped an F bomb at the person who booed LA. He's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, that's my territory." Like,
Hmm.
and like I think he was kind of doing like mock anger, but I think he was a little annoyed.
At least irritated and or annoyed. Yeah. There was a call out. No, that came later because he kind of did it during I woke up in a car too, where he was like, it name drops. Yeah, Arizona, and then so, someone I found out afterwards something about this. Someone cheered for Arizona, and he's like, "You're not from Arizona." This again, this is during a different song, so much later in the set. I woke up in a car. And that person was from Arizona. I found out like, and my friend Coral was like, "Yeah, they were sitting next to me. Like that person was from Arizona." And he was like, "No, you're not."
Just cheering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny. But so that was another one of those callbacks because toward the end of the set, like, and I woke up in a car. He was like, "Cheer for I know you're gonna cheer for your city or whatever." Whatever. He didn't say it that way, but like he said it more cleverly or like worked it in or something. There was a speaking of callbacks or call outs or whatever. We have to understand that, like Andrew said about Kimberly, the Kimberly thing. It's like he can hear us. Like it's very quiet when if he's not banging on the piano or talking into it. And even if he is, it's pretty quiet in there in a seated venue, seated show, small group, but also like we're all most of us are listening. And sure, there's a little bit of bar noise and whatnot. Well, he was playing Ohio, which is one of my
Oh
personal
yeah.
favorites. It was like I think it was only during the final chorus of Ohio. And the guy and I don't know the guy. I live in Ohio currently, and most people know that listen to this, but there was a guy like three people down from me that called out OHIO, which is what Buckeye fans say, just so anybody who does that doesn't know this region or like the fandom of Ohio State Buckeyes. They say that in kind of like a sing-songy kind of to a beat. There's a song that goes with it, but I won't get into it. And he kind of did it like to a beat, like Ohio, this guy was saying it, and
Yeah.
Andrew just kind of looked at him. I don't know if he was annoyed or like thought it was funny. But he just kept going. But like he just kind of gave him a look. To me, it was like kind of a weird moment. I don't know if it was quite fitting at that moment. I don't know.
Yeah, that might have been another swing and miss by someone in the crowd, but
Yeah,
I mean it was kind of funny, but
yeah. I
yeah, I don't
get the
know if Andrew
vibe. Like,
appreciated it or not.
yeah, I get the vibe. Like, because it was that kind of show where like there was a lot of funny things happening. So maybe that person was just trying to add to it, and it was like, yeah, okay. But again, it's like another serious topic song, and he told his story and then went into it, and like again, it's a ultimately it's a fun concert, but yeah, so like it just felt a little bit out of place. And I think it's also because we were in Philadelphia and not anywhere near Ohio, pretty much. It was a very specific call out reference. So like I got it, but I'm also not a Buckeye fan, or nor do I like care about the chant. So like I was like, okay, whatever. I'd rather hear the song.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
speaking of people interrupting and crowd moments, do you want to talk about the guys that showed up an hour and a half late in
I
the middle of
almost
swim?
forgot, but how could I forget the most memorable offstage moment of the show, but also on stage because it impacted Andrew's show. It was a whole thing. Like someone I think you might have recorded it.
Yeah,
Someone recorded it and it was on Instagram. So people that weren't there knew about this, like knew the story.
yeah. Well, I did record it. I don't know if my recording is like the one that people know of.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew started to play Swim,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of my favorite songs. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take a little video of Swim, and I'm
Yeah.
glad I pressed record when I did.
Yeah.
So I ended up recording like the whole ordeal that we're about to talk about. And
Yeah.
I think I did, that was one of the ones I tagged you in. And
Yes, and
then,
I did share
yeah,
yours.
you
Yeah.
shared it. And I think I tagged like Lisa in and she shared it. So maybe my video was the one that
Yeah,
people saw.
because Lisa has a lot of followers, so I'm sure like by the time she shared it, like the whole fandom knew. Just to set this up, I was in row C, so third row back. They're lettered, and then row A, or the first row, there was 2 seats completely empty for almost, I would say almost 75% of the show. And I think Andrew made a comment earlier on, like those seats are empty, or I can't remember what he said. Those people didn't make it, or why are those seats
Yeah,
empty or something? I don't know.
he referenced it a couple times because I think because everything was so packed in,
Yeah, we were packed in.
like anyone who did ever need to get up to like go to the bathroom or wanted to go to the bar or whatever,
Yeah,
like he could see from the stage
that was
when
a
people
little bit
have
of
to
a
like get up to
yeah.
like move for people. So I think he made a comment because it was a few songs in and the people that were like in those two almost front and center seats, he made a comment like, oh, when these guys show up, like it's going to cause a ruckus because everyone's going to need to move for them or something like
Okay,
that.
that's what he
I
said.
think that was
Yeah,
like, and
something like
I
that.
think he made another like those seats got referenced a couple times because they were like right in his face and
Yeah,
he could see
right in
that
his
those two
view.
seats
Like
were
as he looks
empty.
over the piano toward the crowd, they're right there in the front. Like, and that was 2 rows in front of me. So as he's starting Swim, like he's into the song, right? At this point.
Yeah, not like far into the song,
No,
but
like first
like
few
in
lines.
the first verse. Yeah.
Yeah. And as he's playing it, these 2 guys walk up, kind of quick, like they're trying to be respectful, but like it's hard, like you just pointed out, it's hard to get to your seats because you're standing in front of everybody watching the show at this point. So there is a middle row. So they go up the middle row, they get to their seats, they sit down. He's like, wait, they start to sit down. He's like, wait. He stops the song and he's like, are you guys just getting here? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, wow, I'm glad you're here. What did he say? Do you remember?
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, oh my God, like, are those your seats? And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, oh, and he gets up from his piano, stops the song. He like shakes their hand and he's like, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
It's like you're here, and then he like goes to sit back down at the piano, and then he like can't get over it, and he's like, "Hold on, I need to know why the f you guys are so late."
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, "What are your names?" Yeah, then he was even like,
What are
"What
your
are your
names?
names?" And they were, I think, Andrew and Josh,
Andrew and
and
Sean.
then
Sean, I
oh,
think.
Sean, Andrew. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Andrew and Sean. You're right, Andrew and Sean. and he then incorporated their names
Yeah.
to the songs later. But yeah, he like stopped the whole thing and like took their hands and like talked to them for a little bit, and it was pretty funny.
It was, yeah. And he asked them why. So you're right. He asked them why or what made them late, and they said, I don't know what they said. He was like,
They said
"Wait."
it rains, but he couldn't quite hear
He was like,
them.
"Wait, rain or weed?" And they
Yeah,
were,
yeah, yeah.
and everybody laughed,
You
and
smoking too much weed?
yeah, and he was like, "Rain," and I think they answered rain. But here's the thing. There's a couple things behind this. I don't think it rained. I could be wrong on that. It was really dry when we walked out of the venue not long after that. And here's the other thing. I don't know if you know this, but this is just something I heard, and it may be a rumor. I don't know. I've heard that that wasn't Andrew and Sean's actual seats. That they were in the back of the venue standing, and then decided just to go sit in those seats because, to be fair to them, they were open the entire time. So like, why shouldn't someone just use the seats? So no disrespect and no shame on that, but like, my understanding is those weren't their seats, and they just decided to go sit in them. Like, now
Okay.
now to go in the middle of a song, like, you probably should have gone in. And chances are, like, again, to be fair, like, they might have started walking before he played Swim, and then he jumped right into it, and then they were like still walking up. So like, it was a whole thing. But yeah, the word on the street afterward, or like the next day, was like, that wasn't even their seats. They were by the bar the whole time, and they just decided to go sit
Uh,
there.
okay.
Which I
All
know
right.
it kind of ruins the lore. Like, I thought it was much funnier, like when it was their seats and they got there late. But here I was feeling bad for them. I was like, oh, they paid money for these tickets, and like they didn't make the show, and they were late. Like maybe they're got in traffic, or like maybe it was raining. I don't know. Like they said, I don't know. I don't know the true story, but that's the rumor now.
Okay.
I
All
don't know
right.
Andrew and Sean. No disrespect to them or anybody else that told me that story, but like, it's like, those are things that I heard. But you know what? It made for good content. So
Oh, it absolutely did. It was
like,
hilarious.
people
I
were
mean,
erupting in laughter, like, oh
yeah.
my gosh, like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, that was the funniest moment of the show, I thought.
It
Like,
was.
because
It
it was
was.
such a funny interaction. Like, he stopped the whole song to like have a whole conversation with them,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and they weren't trying to like stop the show or like interact with him more than he was asking, but he was asking them questions, and they were answering. So, but yeah. Were there any surprises in the set list besides anything we talked about, like anything that like I can't believe he played that one? Cuz like, for me, one of them was Paper Rain, but was there anything for you?
Oh, Last Straw.
Yeah,
That
that
one surprised me too.
me too.
That's another one I hadn't heard live that I really like that song
Mhm.
because it's a B-side,
Yeah.
and it hadn't made the set list for the Jack's Mannequin tour the year before, and I kind of thought, well, if he didn't play it during the Jack's Mannequin tour,
Mhm.
like I think he might have played it
He played it
like
a few times.
one time or two times or
Yeah,
whatever,
not
but
not every show though.
yeah, it wasn't like a staple of the set list. So I
Yeah.
kind of figured I was probably not likely to hear that one live.
Mhm.
So that was a pleasant surprise.
Some people are big fans of, and I don't know this song well, but I Heard Your Voice in a Dream from the
Oh
Smash
yeah.
soundtrack. That was pretty special, just being that, like, it's only the second time I know of that he's played it live. He played it on the cruise, he played it there, but I was still shocked. I was like, yeah, not one I expected him to pull out.
Yeah, I think that was pretty cool because that was a big thing of his career was getting to write for Smash
Yeah,
and
for sure.
him getting to talk about it. Like you said, it was a storyteller show pretty much. Like he would kind of give a lot of the lore and the stories before the songs that he played.
Hmm.
So him getting to talk about like what it was like to write for Smash and to get to go to the Emmy Awards for Smash and to get to hear about that whole experience of his life that was just a highlight of his career that he kind of got to share with us. I thought that was really, really cool.
I enjoyed it. It's not a song I know. I can't sing along to it or anything like that, but like, I kind of like hearing, songs I haven't heard before, and I think it's cool. And again, paired with the story, that stuff's interesting to me. The other one I wanted to mention, it's not like this was a shocker, but it was still like a cool something different that you don't get at every single show, and that was Hammers and Strings, and it
Oh yeah.
felt very appropriate for the type of show it was. Like, this is a very personal, despite all the jokes and all the fun we had, like this felt very personal and intimate between Andrew and his fans. And that song feels that. That's what that song represents to
Yeah.
me. His relationship to his piano, and he references going to the different clubs and being on tour and this life of being a traveling musician. It just felt very fitting in that environment. And I thought that was one of my favorite, I think, songs of the night. I don't think I've ever heard that one just on a piano before. So that was pretty special.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
He played at the benefit, or with the band. It was a Jack's Mannequin show officially last fall. But yeah, this felt different. Felt again heavy, emotional in all the right ways for me.
Yeah, two things about that song. One of them, his intro to it was definitely the most emotional moment of the show for me. When he introed that song, he was really, talking about what it was like to come out of his cancer journey and kind of get back to writing music again. And it was so emotional. Like I got a little choked up and I started, I started crying a little bit. And Lisa was actually sitting behind me and we
Mm-hmm.
were kind of looking at each other and like we were
Mm-hmm.
both like kind of getting teary. We were like, oh, Andrew, geez. So that was one of the more emotional parts of the show for sure that I thought was fantastic. And that version was gorgeous and very haunting. And I think a really amazing special version of that song. The other thing about that song is I had a Hammers and String shirt on.
Oh,
I
perfect.
had a shirt that had a quote. It was actually a shirt that Ariel had made, and it said, I still hear your ghost in these old punk rock clubs," and it was the Something Corporate piano with a ghost playing it.
Yeah, I saw your
And
picture.
yeah, and at the VIP meet and greet before the show, when I went up to, meet Andrew and get my picture with him, he saw my shirt. He goes, "So cool!" and like had like a big reaction to
Yeah.
my shirt. So I felt like I had manifested hammers and strings being played because I had the shirt on. So that was a highlight for sure.
Yeah, sure.
That
It probably
song.
made it even more memorable that oh my God, I wore the shirt
Yeah.
of the song. Anything else about the set list? Like he played, so I just want to mention he played Heroin, the original version of Punk Rock Princess. And I do want to say, I've covered that song and I knew there was a version called Heroin, obviously, and I knew it was slightly different. But I don't think, unless I'm misrecalling it, and that's very possible because I don't have a great memory, I don't think I knew that he wrote it as a ballad and brought it to the studio as a ballad and fully intended on recording it that way for a Something Corporate album. But then he said Jim Wirt was like, no, we're gonna, add this dun 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 dun, dun. And he's like, okay. And then I don't think he said the words, but I'm gonna say it became a pop punk song basically, in place of the ballad, which only lives as the Galaxy Sessions track. So I don't know if I knew that detail, and feel free to call me out if I said that on an episode. Anybody, I mean, not just you, but anybody who heard me say, maybe I said, I don't really go back and re-listen to my episodes. So I may have said that back then, but I don't remember knowing that he brought it as a ballad and fully intended it as a ballad. I thought it was just an alternate version of hey, I'm going to slow it down and make a different thing. But anyway,
Yeah, that was new lore for me too.
yeah, yeah,
That was a fun story.
yeah,
Him kind of telling the background because I didn't know if that is common knowledge. I also didn't know
yeah,
that that was the lore. I had heard the old version with Galaxy Sessions, but
yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize that that was kind of the intended version that it was supposed to be a ballad.
Right. I think he even called it it's supposed to be a sad song or something like that. And I was like, this does not, the version we know does not sound like a sad song. It sounds like a rock, like a completely rocking song that you want to jump. I mean, I literally jumped up and down at three pianos to it. As you should, as one should. But
Yeah, as one does.
yeah. Also cool in the same week to hear that two very different ways. Well, several of these songs, actually. Oh, She Paints Me Blue. We've got to mention what he did with that one. Again, he did the city thing. Again, the callback to earlier jokes.
Yeah. The
He,
Philly started raining on me.
yeah, which you did reference at the beginning of the episode with your seat. Philly started raining. I mean, it literally did rain
Yep, it
through the
was
vent
raining
on
on
you.
me. Yep.
Yeah, but he did, and he made a joke about it. He's like, I'm gonna do it. He's like, watch this, and he's like,
Yeah.
Philly started raining, and like everybody's like, woo, because obviously there's a lot of Philly people in the room, so it was a good mix of like fun, but also like heavy emotional songs because just the way they translate when it's just him and a piano, and it feels so intimate.
Yeah, the emotional swings were crazy, right? Like
Yeah,
you were laughing and then, you were crying. Like it was definitely all the emotions were felt at that show.
definitely. Yeah, like when that show ended, I was 100% looking forward to Three Pianos 2 days later, but I was also like, oh my God, I want to see that again, and I get to next week. So I was fortunate I got to go to Garcia's the following week, which I will do a different episode on about that. But I was grateful I was able to do that again. But also, a lot of us are going to get the opportunity in the fall solo tour. So he sold a lot of those dates out, but I'll tell you what, if they're not sold out, people better get their tickets because like what we've just talked about is something special that I hope every Andrew fan, casual or hardcore, doesn't matter. Like if you like Andrew's songs, you will love this solo show. If you like any of his songs, because it's just like, I mean, the man does something really special. He connects so well to his audience with these stories and songs, and it just felt really good in the room. It was a good feeling. It was like,
Yeah.
despite the kind of like some of the weird things that happened in the room and Andrew's ability to like bounce off of that, come back from it in a funny way, but then also just jump right back into it was damn impressive in my opinion.
Yeah. It felt so personal.
Yeah.
Like the stories that he told felt like we were getting a very intimate look behind the curtain
Mm-hmm.
of his life and his songwriting, and all the crowd interactions, as we've been saying, were very like literally personal. Like he
Yeah.
was calling out people by name and putting their names in the songs, and it just it's so intimate and it's so different than like the full three piano show or even seeing him with any of his bands, that I think it is like a really special thing that, yeah, I think any fan would really enjoy.
And it was special for I'm looking at my notes here, which is I almost forgot. It was especially special for a couple in the crowd that got
Oh yeah,
engaged.
I almost forgot too. We had a
Yeah,
proposal at
which
that show.
which
How did we forget that?
right, for two people in the room, again, that they'll never forget that. But Andrew actually, like, he's like, I don't normally do this, but he like basically introduced it, and then someone in the balcony, I kind of saw them from a distance. I kind of saw the silhouettes. It was hard to see from down where I was sitting, but someone got down on one knee and proposed to their partner. And when people started cheering, I was like, okay, she said yes, this is good. Um, Obviously, yeah. So that was awesome. Andrew kind of set the guy up with the pitch, and the guy took it and proposed, to his partner. So that was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
good thing he didn't check it out because Andrew, yeah, called him out by name. I
He
think his name was
did.
Grant. I think he was
Was it
like,
Grant?
yeah, I think so. I think he was like Grant. I forget what he
Don't you have
said, but
you have a very special question or a very important question or something like that? And I was like, oh, he
oh
just kind
yeah.
of gave it away. Like he just kind of like said like the thing that's but maybe that was the plan. Maybe it was like, hey, Grant has a question for you or something like that. So like and then it happened. So
Yeah, that was really cool.
and that was almost at the very end. So that was like, third to last song. And then he did the encore. He came back for two, those were like the three biggest songs right at the end. But I thought that was very fitting too, that like, the heavy hitters at the end to just kind of wrap it up. And to be fair, like Dark Blue, Cecilia, I Woke Up in a Car, very important songs to his story. And
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
understandable why those are at every show. And the people like them.
It's funny. I have now seen two proposals at two different
I have two.
Andrew shows because
Mm-hmm.
I was at Red Rocks and someone proposed during Constantine, and he saw this one. I don't think Andrew like knew about ahead of time. Clearly, at this solo show, Grant had let Andrew know his plans to propose, but
Mm-hmm.
at Constantine and Red Rocks, Andrew saw it happening and like stopped it and was like, wait, did I just see a proposal? Like, did she say yes? And then this proposal
Oh,
during Dark Blue at the solo show.
That's
So
awesome.
this is two proposals I've now
Yeah.
been in the room for, both during a kind of breakup songs, ironically enough. But I guess if it's special to the couple, then
Yeah. That's true. If it's special to them, like they're obviously big fans. There was a proposal on the first Holiday from Real as well, so I've actually seen two as
okay,
well at Andrew
okay.
shows. Yeah,
So two
interestingly.
different one, well, one the same, and then we each saw
Yeah,
a different one.
yeah. Anything else that we wanted to touch on about the show? Did we miss anything important that we should definitely touch on?
Another special fan moment, the kid during Cecilia and the Satellite, the little
Oh,
girl.
oh yeah, right up front. She was second
Yeah,
row. Yeah, really
yeah,
close to
I
me.
think so. They were at the VIP meet and greet.
Mm-hmm.
He found out that her name is also Cecilia,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe she is named after his Cecilia, but
Oh,
I'm not entirely certain. But she goes by Cece,
yeah.
and it was her. I think it's her birthday.
Okay.
She was there for her birthday,
Yeah.
and she had on like a green sequined top hat.
Mm-hmm.
And during Cecilia and the Satellite, he took her hat and put it on his head
That's right. I forgot he did
during the
that.
song. Yeah, he went to give it back to her at the end of the song, and so like she was, kind of like right up front, and she stood up, and he took the green sequin top hat off of his head and put it onto her head. And I know someone had shared a picture of that on the like Pop Underground Facebook group, and someone had commented, "Did Andrew give her the 22 hat?" For people who are also Taylor Swift fans,
Oh,
during
okay.
Taylor Swift's Eras tour, she had a red sequined hat, or a black sequined hat rather, during the song 22. And every night of the Eras tour, she picked a different kid that would stand at the edge of the stage, and she would walk or like dance down to the edge of the stage with the hat on during the song, and she would like take it off her head and put it on the kid's head. And it was like a little moment, and I thought that was funny. I don't think Andrew intended it to look like that, but it looked like he was giving his version of the 22 hat to a kid. But it was her hat that he had just worn. But I thought that was funny.
I didn't realize the connection, and I'm actually pretty sure that Andrew didn't either. But like you said, but that is funny that like it just worked out that way from someone who just saw the last part where he handed it to her, but he was just giving back her hat.
Yeah, but I thought that was funny. It did look like the picture did look like he was
Yeah,
doing like a Taylor Swift thing, which was unintentional, but it was
yeah,
funny. But I thought it was cute that he
yeah.
like, I think there was only those two kids in the audience, the baby
Hmm.
and that little girl, and that he had incorporated both of them into his show. Just shows that, he loves kids, he loves his fans. Like I love how nice he is to children that
Hmm.
come to his show. And I know you brought your own kids to his show, so
Yeah, we
I'm
have.
sure like you've had that experience. But I thought that was really cute that he like interacted with that girl Cece and like took her hat and like wore it for Cecilia and the Satellite. Like
Yeah,
that was just another cute fan moment.
that was a cool moment. That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. It's been great talking to you, Kristin, about the show at the old TLA, and I know you had a great experience. I know I did too. Any final thoughts about the show at large?
It was just a fantastic show. I guess just a fun story just from my own experience. The couple that had requested globes and maps ended up sitting next to me, and we kind of bonded in between the VIP and the show starting. We
Yeah.
kind of bonded over the condensation pouring out of the AC vent, and the fact that they had requested one of my favorite songs. I wanted to thank them for that, and we were kind of just chatting, and somehow we kind of figured out that we were staying in the same hotel. And I had taken the train into Philly, so I didn't have a car there, and I was spending the Uber back. And they
Hmm.
they offered me a ride back to the hotel after the show,
Oh, that's really nice of
and
them.
was so nice of them because they had their car there, and like without even question, like I clearly have the survival instincts of like a potato or something because they're Andrew McMahon fans, so they're
Must be
totally
trustworthy.
trustworthy, right? And they had done like a spot hero thing, and they had parked in someone's driveway in an alley near the show. So, and they warned me about this in advance,
Yeah.
but I totally, after the show, I walked down an alley in the middle of the night in Philadelphia with these two people that I had met 2 hours before that and got into their car and drove to the hotel with them. But I think that that says a lot for the fandom that like there was no doubt in my mind that this was normal. I feel like if I would tell non-Andrew McMahon fans that, they'd be like, "What is wrong with you? You met some people at a concert and you just got in their car."
But I think you're right on both accounts because I've had things like that. And it's just like, yeah, this wouldn't happen necessarily with non-Andrew fans, but it's just like, I don't know. He's commented several times in the last week about like how his fans are so special, and like people tell him like, "Wow, you've got amazing fans." And I've had other artists tell me on the podcast like Andrew has amazing fans, like it's like no other fandom. I truly believe it. And and two things. The next night we were hanging out, and I'm not going to go into all those details, but like we went to the Zach Clark solo show. And we shared an Uber with like what 5 or 6 of, I don't know, probably too many of us in one Uber, right? And like it was an XL, but like all got in and we were just like joking. Only with Andrew McMahon fans would you like jump in like, hey, let's all get an Uber together and go to the next spot. So it was cool. It was like bonding, you know, like with other cool fans. So
For sure. I think that the fandom is very special in that way. That I think just being an Andrew McMahon fan just unites us all in ways that like we have something really big and really cool in common. Just the fact that we're all fans, and I've met a lot of really cool people through this fandom, and that was just another example of that. And then this couple, you know, we ended up like exchanging info and hung out a few other times throughout the weekend, and we still talk, like we've been, you know, messaging each other, and
that's awesome.
We're all going to the solo show at the 930 Club in DC in October, and we're planning to meet up there. So like I feel like I made friends at this solo show that, you know, are actual friends, which is really cool. Like they weren't people that I had, unlike a lot of people I got to spend time with over that whole weekend. They aren't people that I had like connected with online or something ahead of time that I was just meeting in person that I felt like I knew. Like I literally met them at the VIP of the show. And then we're friends. So that added, for me personally, I feel like that kind of just adds to the whole specialness of the experience. You know, sharing that show with the other fans, I feel like really unites us all as a fandom, and it was something special.
It truly is. It's something special to be a fan, and it also, and you alluded a lot to this, but I'll just say it. It feels like knowing someone's an Andrew fan, it means something. It means something good about a person. You can tell, like you're an Andrew fan. You're probably good people. That's pretty cool. It's pretty comforting to know when you go into these rooms that you're with good people, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, they requested Globes and Maps, so I feel like if they were serial killers, I mean, Globes and Maps wouldn't be their favorite Andrew McMahon song. I would say.
Wait.
I was in no danger.
Wait, what would a serial killer request from Andrew McMahon? I'm just kidding. Like, which song? So I'll leave you with all of that to ponder. Everyone here to ponder.
Maybe Me in the Moon.
Oh, okay. No, that's a great answer.
For a murder.
That's a great answer, actually.
They requested Me in the Moon, I might have been less comfortable walking down an alley with them and getting into their car.
I'll tell you what, I did not expect an answer to that question, but you nailed it with that one. Like, you came back quick with that one.
I just pulled that right out.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
It was not anything
awesome
I'd ever
song,
thought about.
Beautiful song, but... All right. Well, on that note, again, thank you, Kristin. I had a great time. Thanks for getting on here. On such short note, I'd shout out to Kristin because on such short notice, I was like, hey, do you want to get on a call later and, talk about our experience at TLA? And she was like, sure. So thank you for getting on here. So this is going to be a series of mini episodes of, or maybe not so many, I don't know, to talk about these 3 piano shows. So.
Well, thank you for having me on. The show was really special to me, and it was really fun to debrief with someone about it. And this was really fun. I enjoyed talking about this show with you.
Great. I just always want to relive the shows. So like, this is awesome talking to another fan who's become a friend. So thank you for that.
And we got to meet right before the show too. So
it was perfect. That's why
that we got to chat about it.
Honestly, like after that week, I was sorry I didn't see you at the 3 piano show, but I was like, Oh, I hope I can get like I'm hoping Kristin will jump on with me and talk to me about the shows. And then I decided I was like, oh, I'm gonna break it up. Like I'll ask Kristin to do one, and I'll ask someone else to do another, and something like that. But like I'm glad we got a chance to like debrief, like you said. So
This was fun.
yeah. All right. Thanks for joining me. And next up, we'll talk about Three Pianos in Philly. It was so much fun reliving the TLA experience, the solo show, and all the magic that came with it. Those magical moments, as we talked about. So next up, I brought in Brendan, who, although I've interacted with online prior to Philadelphia, finally met in person. So we decided to do an episode on the Three Piano show at the Mann Center together. I really enjoyed talking about all those moments that made this one special. All right, welcome to the show, Brendan. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, Brendan, we are going to be doing a song episode, so we'll get into all the details of your fandom this fall when we do a song episode. But for now, just give us a real brief introduction of who you are.
Yeah, my name's Brendan. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I am a chiropractor. I have my own chiropractic practice, and I've been an Andrew fan since my sophomore year of high school in 2007. So got in right after Everything in Transit, right before Glass Passenger, but quickly found the whole catalog and have been in love. And he's, my favorite musician, yada, yada, like everybody else on here. He's amazing. So
Yeah, thanks for that. So for the listeners, Brendan and I met real briefly in Philly, but we've chatted online before just about podcast, about our Andrew fandom. And it's so cool to finally connect with you in person. And I think you noticed, and I got to admit, you caught me off guard. I think that happened a lot on these. And you're like, Brendan, and I was like, oh yeah, wait a second. Like I can finally put a face with the name. So I was really glad that you introduced yourself to, and we got to talk for a few minutes. And I think in that moment, I think everybody was kind of like parting ways, going in different directions. So it became a little chaotic, but we did get a few minutes to chat. And then you ended up joining us at the restaurant. So that was really cool. But we ended up at the opposite ends of the table.
yeah.
And afterward, I was like, I wish I would have gone down there now, but there was, I don't know, we were eating dinner, but yeah. So I'm glad you guys came though. Was that your wife that was with you?
Yeah. Yep. My wife
Cool.
was with me. We were going back actually at the long story short, we met, like you were saying, at the night before hangout, which was fantastic. I mean, and the fact that they're playing Andrew music the whole time is the best part of it all, but
yeah,
you get to buy the merch beforehand and everything. But then we were going back to the hotel. Once Kyle, who I also met that night, he told me where you guys were headed. And I was like, babe, that's actually like a block from where we're staying. So can we please just go? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So we ended up
That's
going
cool. That worked out really. I didn't realize you met Kyle. So I just met Kyle probably in that moment, like that same, within that hour, I had just met him as well. I shared a cab with him. I joked with a couple people about those couple of days. I'm like, I can't believe we're just jumping in cabs with people we don't, or like Ubers with people we don't know. But that's being an Andrew fan. It's like there's some kind of immediate trust. Like, let's just get a cab together.
Actually, Kyle was going up the elevator with us there, and he had a something corporate shirt on. So I was like, obviously, you're going for the Andrew night before thing as well. Mm-hmm. And then I heard your voice, just recognized you when you had come from the Zach Clark show that night, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's where a group of us Ubered over from the Zach Clark show together.
Yeah. And so then I was talking to Kyle and I was like, oh, have you ever, I'm assuming you've met Steve having gone on cruises and stuff like that. And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, he's right there. He's the one I'm meaning to talk to him tonight. He's the one who does the podcast that I wanted to say hi to. So.
Yeah, I only wish we could have talked a little bit longer, but I'm glad we have this opportunity now. So
no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. This is great.
I thought it would be a good opportunity to get to know you a little bit, but also recap and reflect on Three Pianos Philly show, which was the next night after the night you're talking about. I was there for a couple of days. I know you guys were too. What made you decide to travel to Philadelphia? Because you're from St. Louis, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of far, I would think.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My wife and I love travel, but we had decided early on when I kind of just told her we were going to go to one of the three shows. She knew that the year before I was kind of sad not being able to go to Red Rocks. And so when he announced these three shows, I told her, like, there's no way we're not going to one of them. And the worst case is we go to Chicago frequently. It's a quick drive or a train ride for us. But we had some airplane miles burning a hole in our pocket, and we had never been to Philadelphia before. So it was even more of a sales pitch for her because we got to experience a new city that we had never been to and got to bookend it with the Andrew show. So it was a win-win all around as people who like to travel and who love Andrew as well.
I kind of fell in love with Philly, but I do wonder how much of that has to do with the experience of seeing Andrew shows and being surrounded by Andrew McMahon fans while I was there. So I'll definitely have to go again. I went back in 2008 with my wife, and we really enjoyed it. That was pre-kids, and we really enjoyed it. The historical area and the museum. We went to the art museum. A lot of other like landmarks around the city that everybody knows about in Philly, but really enjoyed that. But this was my first time back in a long time. And I really loved it. I feel like I kind of saw different corners of the city, if you will, like different neighborhoods and things. I stayed in Airbnb on my own, like south of Center City. So I did a lot of walking. So I took Ubers on occasion, but I actually did more walking, and that was very intentional. The weather was, I'll say, fine. It was very humid. It was incredibly humid, but it's better, in my opinion, than too cold or rainy and not being able to walk places. So I just bared it and went for it. So I got to walk around the city a lot, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. That was us too. We expected to Uber everywhere, and we ended up just walking absolutely everywhere. We got a lot of steps, 23,000 steps one day. I mean, it was insane.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Definitely a great city to go to. And we did all the touristy stuff. We ran up Art Hill and did the Rocky pose and everything like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did see the Liberty Bell the day of the show, actually. Day of Three Pianos, I did go see the Liberty Bell. I'd seen it before, wanted to go see it again. I waited in the line. It was very hot, but you get rewarded with some heavy air conditioning when you walk in there.
Sure.
And it was a cool experience. It was cool to see again, take a picture and that sort of thing. So
that whole Liberty Bell Independence Hall area is just, anytime you can step back in history, is pretty surreal. All the events that happened there that brought us to where we are. Yeah, no doubt. We did all that too. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So day of the show, I know there was a lot of questions leading into this show. Online, people were chattering, how am I going to get there? It's like 20 minutes outside the city, driving. So some people had their cars. Some people were going to Uber. But there were questions about what the Ubers would be like afterward. And there was a bus from, I think, from Center City that went over there to the Mann Center where the concert was. How did you guys get there?
We took the bus.
Oh, cool.
We had looked up, I was looking at, like, anytime we're in a new city, I just punch in on Apple Maps using the little bus transit thing, and it gives you step-by-step instructions. And so it gave me some step-by-step instructions, but then I just punched that into ChatGPT. And I was like, is this the best option for me to get here tonight? And it said, actually, there's a direct line called the Mann line that runs on certain shows. And so we looked that up and kind of found where we needed to meet up at that. And the first stop was right by our hotel. So we took that over there. And I mean, at the first stop alone, there was probably, like, I want to say at least 30, everybody in Andrew shirts that, all are getting on that bus because it's what specifically it is for, was that concert there that night. And then skipping to the end of the night.
I was going to ask. Yeah, go ahead, because I'm really curious.
Unfortunately, my wife very, very intelligently was like, he's going to play La La La. We're going to hear it as we're walking. I was like, please don't make me leave early. But we did. And we were like the third from last person, crammed on the bus like a sardine.
Oh, you almost didn't make that first trip, huh?
I was under the impression that maybe there was only going to be one bus. So
I don't know. Yeah.
Right as we got on it, like 2 people got on after us, and then a huge line had formed of other people. So I hope they sent another bus, but thankfully, because we were walking out and heard La 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 as we were leaving, that we actually did get on that first bus back as well too. And it was like $2.90 away, as opposed to, I think when we were leaving, I checked and it was like every bit of $50 for like an Uber or something like that. So
yeah, sure. I'm glad you addressed that, because I was very curious how everybody was going to get out of there. I ended up driving in, because I had a car. I'd driven to Philadelphia and I paid for parking in Center City, so I had a spot all weekend. When I reserved that initially, I made sure I got the in and out privileges. And so I kind of put it out to, the Andrew Discord I'm on, and I said, I mean, if anybody needs a ride, I am driving, and there's a couple that I'd met on the cruise, and they connected with me. They said, I mean, if you're driving, and they told me where their hotel was. It was on the same block as my car, so I was like, well, obviously, just jump in my car, no problem. So that worked out really well. And then my friend Diane from Chicago was also coming in for the show, and I said, hey, we've got an extra spot. Like, you might as well join us. And she's like, sure, kind of same thing. Like, why not? And her hotel was on that block too, so it was just super convenient. We all just got in the car, and we were all equally worried, I think. I think all of us felt the same way. We were worried about getting in traffic because I don't
Yeah.
know. Some people were speculating online, and maybe I was reading too much into it. Like, oh, what if it's hard to get into? I don't want this situation where I'm like stuck on the expressway or on the exit ramp and then the show's starting. So I was like, all right, let's go early. So we left the city at 4 o'clock, which sounds great. We didn't have VIP, by the way.
Yeah.
We just hung out. Like, we didn't even tailgate or anything crazy. Like, we just hung out and talked. We talked about music. We listened to music. It was fun. I didn't mind it a bit. It made me feel more at ease. That's just kind of my personality. I will say, in my normal life, I don't normally get to places hours early. My wife would argue quite the opposite, but but we were there hours early, and it really didn't feel like it. That's what was cool, because we were talking amongst ourselves. All huge fans of Andrew, so it made sense.
Yeah.
Eventually, we got out of the car and we started talking to other people. We got in the line, even though like I had a seat, so I didn't need to be in a line or anything. But I was just like, oh, I'll just hang out with people. We'll just hang out with people. And so some of us did that. Did you guys arrive early, or was there any problem getting in terms of the traffic, or was it just like a normal trip?
Yeah, no, it was very trafficy getting in. So the
Okay.
bus route told us we'd get there at 7:05. So I was like, that's no problem. And I think we pulled up at like 7:26. So like I was
Oh,
like, oh
wow. I'd be
man, we're
so
gonna miss.
stressed.
Yeah, I was very worried we were gonna miss whatever was happening. And then I mean he didn't start till it felt like about 15 minutes after that anyway.
Yeah, you started late, so that worked out for
Yeah.
you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was that the whole time I was just like, well, whatever. It's all Andrew people. We're all in the same boat. So, it is what
Yeah.
it is
Yeah. Okay, so that was cutting it close.
for sure. Yeah.
So that's what I was worried about. I mean, I probably didn't have to leave that early. I know somebody who got an Uber at like 5:30, and they had no problem getting over there. And I saw that group, Kyle and them, the same group of people from that dinner. I saw them at like 6:15. So I know it didn't take more than a half an hour for them to get over. So at that moment.
It probably felt like within an hour or 45 minutes of the show, like it definitely the traffic was notable outside of it for sure. I don't know how it normally is, but that's
Yeah.
what it felt like to me.
It's pretty isolated back there. It feels like one way in and out for the most part.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be two roads that go back there, because actually my GPS, I was shocked at the friendliness and calmness of the security that was guiding people out, because I was able to drive out and kind of go around some cones. Like, I was like, I rolled down my window. I was like, is it okay if I go out this way? And then and she's like, yeah, go, that's fine. And she kind of pointed to me and pointed to the cones, went around, got in the traffic, and I went out a different road than I actually came in. We didn't take the expressway back. I got back to the city in probably 25 minutes.
Easy.
I was shot. Oh, yeah, I'm better back up. Once we got out of the traffic, it might have been like 40 minutes, but like once we got through that initial like first mile, that took a while, of course. But after I was like, oh, we're still really far. But at that point, we were back in 25 minutes. I couldn't believe it. And the show did end late. I think I had already dropped them off at their hotels before midnight. So it wasn't bad at all. And I was pretty happy with that. But I don't know. Like, maybe I would consider the bus next time. But does it only run at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it left it.
Okay, maybe not
It
then.
left it one time, and then it was waiting there at the end. It said like just leave promptly, because I was like, I don't know what that means. So we were like, does that mean we can wait till the end? And clearly we could not have. So like I said, I hope for the people who were waiting that they sent a second bus, because they did not
Yeah.
have a second bus going there on the way there. So
Okay. So you guys didn't have too much time to explore the venue then, right?
yeah, not really. I mean, we were able to walk around and grab a drink and sort of look at it and explore it a little bit beforehand, just because he did. We smooth. The line was very long, but we got in pretty quickly actually. So we were able to walk around for like 10 minutes or so, just because, like we said, we had seats, so I wasn't worried about having to fight somebody for a lawn spot or anything like that.
You guys were in the pavilion, right?
No, we were in the terrace. So that was basically the seats that were under the open sky. So
Oh, cool. Okay. That was really unique. I've never seen that before, where the
Yeah, me
pavilion
neither.
ends and then there's like, I don't know, was it 20 more rows after that?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a good amount of seats, and then so there was a walkway in front of us, then all the terrace seats, and then another walkway behind us, and then it was like lawn. And I don't even know. I didn't hardly look at the lawn. I didn't know how steep or how deep it was or anything. But yeah, so
Hmm.
we were in the open sky seats, which ended up being awesome because it was a great night. So
Yeah, it was a beautiful night. I wouldn't have minded being out there for that reason. I was down. I think I counted 15 rows back from the pit. The pit was very small at this one. Unlike Chicago, the pit was very deep. This one was like very narrow. So I don't want to even estimate how many people it could fit front to back. But what I'm saying is 15 rows back from the pit felt very close to the stage. I feel like I was pretty up there. You never know that going into a venue or I should say going into buying tickets when you don't know the venue. My Philly and Chicago venue, as far as venues go, experience felt very different. I much preferred the Philly venue. I liked that it had the covered pavilion. I liked kind of the layout. I liked that it was tiered seating. And I think that was for you too, right? Where your seats kind of tiered so you can kind of
yep,
see where the
yep,
person in front of you. That's
yep.
great. Yeah. I really appreciate that. It reminded me, for the most part, except for those terrace level seating, it reminded me of some of the amphitheaters back in Ohio, like in Michigan that I've been to. There's several in Michigan and several in Ohio, and it reminded me of those. So it was very comfortable. I found out when I got there, I can't remember how, that it was a pretty old venue, like from the 70s. Someone said, "Oh yeah, my parents used to come here when they were young." And I was looking around, I'm like, "This is a pretty nice venue." They've the wood, I can kind of tell in the wood, but like the venue itself overall, I mean, it was great. I loved it. I don't know what you thought.
To me, it felt like if what you're saying is true, that's crazy. To me, it felt like it was either brand new or they had just done a massive renovation of it because it was beautiful. It was brand new. I was actually sitting next to somebody who he like wasn't singing anything, and he was with like four women and they were just like going crazy. And so I at one point jokingly was like, "Who dragged you to the show?" And he was like, "Well, I know Dark Blue, and this is the nicest venue in Philadelphia." And so I was like, well, that's cool to know because I agree. I think it was absolutely beautiful.
That's like so it's about, unfortunately it's about 2 hours for me, but Riverbend down in Cincinnati is another beautiful pavilion type venue with a lawn. It's actually AstroTurf, not actual grass. And it's beautiful. And I've only been there twice now, and both have been in the past year. And both times I went, I'm like, I need to see more shows here. I'll drive the 2 hours. It's such a beautiful place. That's how I felt about the Man. If I'm ever, I think I told a few people that too afterward, day after or whatever. I was like, if I ever find myself in Philly for a concert again, I hope it's at the Man. I hope I get to
Yeah,
go to that venue again. I really liked it.
no question. I mean, I described it to my wife during it. Like I said, it did feel like it was sort of an artsy, brand new. Like I just assumed it had been made in the last like 3 years. But like I said, I may look up now and see like if it was renovated, if they did some fundraising campaign recently to renovate it or something like that, because it did feel very new. But it reminded me of the St. Louis Symphony Hall, which they just did a massive renovation of, that Andrew's actually playing a show at in February with
Oh,
our symphony, which we already have tickets to. I'm very
now you're
excited.
tempting me. Wait a
I'm
second.
telling you, you come on in, we'll have a good time. But I told my wife it felt like that. It felt like it was both a place to like a theater place, but also felt artsy as well too. Like you could see Romeo and Juliet there or something like that as
Yeah.
well too. It was absolutely beautiful for sure.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think it had to have been renovated in recent years because yeah, the front entrance was spectacular. Like the whole like kind of boardwalk style of the where the vendors were, just felt like something else. Like so, yeah, that definitely didn't exist 50 years ago. All of that anyway.
For sure. Wide open, plenty of space to stroll around. Yeah, absolutely. That didn't stop the merch line from being out of this world long, but yeah,
Oh, I can't recommend to people enough. Well, I think this episode will come out after Long Beach, unfortunately, but I just posted on Instagram. I'm like, get your merch at the merch pop up, please, because those lines were insane. I don't know if I think I have maybe, but not often do I see merch lines that long. I will say, I'll jump ahead here. In Chicago, they had a merch booth set up outside the gate where people were waiting to get in, which was really nice of them to do.
great
And
idea.
hopefully in addition to the merch pop-up in Long Beach, they will also do that. That way people can stop and get their merch before they go in, and that would be the way to do it. Get there early so you can get your merch and then wait to get in the venue.
The night before thing, we looked and we were like, okay, I probably should get it here. But I was like, I saw maybe that they were going to do some other merch. So I was like, let's just hold off and get it there. And that was a mistake. They did not do. It was
shoot.
It was all the night before, and I should have gotten it then when we were there. But
yeah.
My wife went out at some point when she had to go to the restroom, and she it was like in a song. She just got stuff then. So, and there was
she
no
bit
line
the bullet, huh? Yeah, because before the show and afterward, very long lines. Yeah, I bought it. Speaking of merch, I ended up buying the patch specific to Philadelphia and the pin. So I thought that was pretty cool. I have a lot of concert T-shirts. I actually really love the design. You're wearing it, and I love it. But I was like, oh man, do I need another concert shirt? So I was like, I'll do something different this time around. I was also considering the poster, but I felt the same as the T-shirt. I'm like, then I got to find wall space. I don't know if I have any more room for more posters. So I went ahead with the patch and the pin because I loved the artwork so much, and I was like, maybe I can do something with those, like make a little. Because I did a shadow box with my Holiday from Rail Cruise stuff, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do something like that for like maybe on land Andrew shows, and I've started my collection.
Commemorate those, yeah. And I wasn't gonna get another shirt unless it was specific to Philadelphia, and they did a great job of each show has their own artwork. I'm sure people have seen, and it says Philadelphia and the specific date, and it's got like the Liberty Bell. And then I saw like the Chicago artwork is niche to Chicago as well too. So then I was like, all right, well, this commemorates the fact that we traveled far away for a very special show anyway. So
was there like a feeling like I know excitement is the obvious answer, but like, was there anything about the crowd that was either unique or like, what did you think about when you kind of walked out, you went and took your seats and before the lights went down? I'm using air quotes because I know it's still light outside, but like, was there anything about the crowd you noticed or anything like that?
Yeah, in particular for me, I've seen Andrew in all his forms for so long now and so many times. I mean, every time he comes in town, we see him or even travel at some points to various places. But this was probably the one, given that there's only 3 shows and it was all the bands combined, this felt more like probably what people would have felt if they went like you have done on the cruises and things like that, where it was more of a special standalone event. And I think for that reason, as opposed to the shows I've been to in St. Louis before, everybody on the bus, in line, in the merch tents, in the bathroom stalls, like is just talking to each other the whole time and is clearly so jazzed up about what's happening. I mean, there was one time I sprinted to the bathroom and then sprinted back with like 3 guys because like I woke up in a car, just started playing, something like that. And we were like, we can't miss this. And
right.
So it did feel from beginning to the end like everybody was just chatting with everybody. And that's in part the Andrew community, but it also felt like it was niche to this being such a unique and special concert that he was doing, given that there's only 3 of them and it's the 3 bands. So
I'm glad you mentioned the cruise because it did feel to me. So when I think probably both the years that I went, it was the first day. That's kind of what it felt like, that energy leading up to the show on the first day. It was a lot like what you just described. It was like, because it's this big event and it's exciting for everyone, and most of us traveled to be here, and like that's how I felt in Philadelphia. It was like there was this palpable energy among the crowd and everybody was so excited. Yeah, I saw the same thing. Like people were talking to each other, I think more than at a typical show, because I go to a lot of concerts. I go to plenty of concerts and where I just look at my phone and the people next to me are looking at their phones and we're not talking at all. But like, this was something different. It was like everybody, there was this energy in this social dynamic that was maybe more unique even from a typical Andrew show, like when I've gone to see SoCo or the Wilderness or whatever. So I definitely felt that. And there were some really nice people around us whom we didn't talk to right away. So my friend Laura was sitting 2 rows in front of me. We bought our tickets not together, but we coordinated. So we were like, where are you getting your ticket? Where are you getting yours? And we tried to get them as close together. It actually worked out even better than it looked on a map because she was 2 rows in front of me. And my friend Diane, who I rode with, was probably like 10 or 20 rows back from us. But actually, Diane was right behind the sound booth. So Diane could sit and still see if she wanted to.
That's
which was
awesome.
pretty clutch. But Laura was in two people in front of me, and she was talking to this guy next to her, and she explained to me afterward because I was like, "Man, that guy was chatting you up a lot during the show." And she's like, "Oh, he was telling me that the people just like kind of what you said about the guy by you, the people he was with knew Andrew a lot better, and he was like, yeah, I know some songs, but." And then she kind of knew what the set list was going to be. And so he was like asking her, like, what's coming up next? Like when's Dark Blue or something like that? Like, things like that. Real friendly though. And so he was with, I think, his wife or girlfriend and their friend. And there's a couple to my right and then in front of me, slight right. And they became like very cool. We were all kind of chatting before, during the intermission, after the show. And then there was like four guys to my left who, honestly, I hesitate to even say it. There were these guys that came in and they were great. Knew every song, singing along. Dude next to me was just as excited as I was. But for some reason, I don't know. I go to some concerts and a group of guys walks in and they're double fisting beers, and I like beer just as much as the next guy, right? But like when I see that, I'm like, oh man, they're just here more for like the beer and the social time. I was completely wrong. I misjudged them completely. They were awesome. They loved the music. They were fully in it, and they were drinking their beers and having a good time. So good for them. And I felt bad I thought about that afterward. I'm like, man, I really like kind of looked around the room and like made some assumptions here, but yeah.
We had two guys in front of us that were with their wives that probably felt like they were around Andrew's age, or I should say definitely in from the beginning of Something Corporate. And as the songs progressed with Andrew, or with Jax being first and Andrew being second, and then Something Corporate, you could tell that they really took to the music way more once Something Corporate came on. Their arms are around each other. They're belting every Something Corporate song and singing along, going crazy with their wives and everything. And they were having a few cocktails as well too. And then the one guy, I don't know, probably once the first three sets were done with the three bands, he literally just like fell asleep in the chair, and they were like taking like classic, almost like college photos with him and stuff. And then
Oh boy.
unfortunately his wife, like, I don't know, 15 minutes later, he kind of got up and was mumbling some words, but she made him leave before the end of the show. So, but they got to enjoy the whole original Something Corporate set, and I think enjoy it they did. So
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I respect everybody's different ways of enjoying shows, as long as they're not impeding on anybody else's, and that
right.
didn't happen in either of these cases. So yeah, it was a fun crowd. Like I had all positive interactions. It was cool walking around the venue before the show even started, and we will eventually get to the show, I promise. But walking around the venue, just kind of running into people, talking to people, people I didn't know, people I had met before, taking pictures. It was a lot of fun. Like I saw some cruise people. Let's talk about the show. Let's get to the set. They opened with the resolution, but before that, they did these vignettes, right? From is it from the book? Those are from the book, right?
I have a question in here to ask you if you thought it was from the book. So
I do think so.
I think it was too. It definitely felt like it was something I read on the book for sure.
Yeah, it sounded like it. It looked like it. The words came up on the screen. There's some animation. And I couldn't help but think when I watched those, I was like, you know what? It would be great if they made an Andrew McMahon documentary about his career and everything. I know they had Dear Jack years ago. That was about a very specific part of his life. But an all-encompassing career bio about Andrew McMahon. And those were the transitionals between each part of his story. I think that would be really nice because it worked so well. I loved I love the messaging. I think they picked, if it is from the book, in fact, people can correct me on that, correct us on that. If it isn't from the book, they picked good parts of it, like perfect parts for the story. And each one was relevant to the band that was about to play.
Yeah, and if that really I reminded my wife she needed to read the book. But if you've not read the book, basically at the intro and outro of chapters or what have you, he basically writes love notes or just remembrance notes to his various pianos at the time that are almost from like the point of view of the piano at times, and like just where he was at his life and what that piano meant to him and how he treated the piano and everything. And so they were perfect segues because I was so curious before the show. I had no expectations, but I was so curious how they were going to bring on the bands. I knew he would do something fun to segue or introduce them. And so when he did that, I was pretty sure it was from the book, but I was like, that is, given that this is called The Three Pianos, and that was, your book and everything, that this was so beautiful and touching and gave enough time in between to set up and get ready for the next one. I loved it.
I did appreciate the little breaks in between. The breaks were short in between most of the sets. Skipping ahead, the intermission was key. I loved that. Surprisingly, I didn't sit down. I just felt like the energy was alive inside of me, and I couldn't sit down. But what was funny is I was talking to Laura and some of those people I mentioned around me. I mentioned I should probably get water, but it's too late now, and there's like 6 minutes left. And she's like, "You can probably make it." And I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty fast walker. I can make it. And I did. And the problem was the water spout that you can get clean water from was like all across the whole courtyard out by that area. And I like fast walked all the way down there, filled up my water bottle all the way back. And I think I still had like a minute and a half to go.
It's probably the fastest you've ever walked.
It probably is. But I appreciate the breaks, but I didn't really use them to sit down. I probably should have. So were people standing out at the terrace, or were people sitting, or was it a mix?
I would say probably 80 to almost 90% of the time we were standing. It was,
I figured.
Yeah, very, very rare that people were sitting. And I was so thankful that as soon as the people in front of me went up, I was like, oh, thank God, because I wanted to stand. And I also didn't want to be disrespectful to people behind me if this was going to be somewhere where I just bought the cheap seat so nobody stands. But thankfully they did, because I was bouncing the entire time. And like you, I sat for like a minute during the intermission basically, but then I was up the whole time. I way too electric not to.
I did like the vignettes for, even though I didn't sit for them, and I probably should have. I liked them because it was almost like a mental break, though. It's like the mental break I needed in between, just the calm before the songs came back. So I did appreciate that. So how'd you feel when the band walked out? So you see Andrew and the band walk out. What was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I almost expected it to blow up more, frankly, but I mean, it was as loud and as exciting as it could have been. I was more just grateful that I actually made it to watch them walk out, as we mentioned before, that the bus came like right before the scheduled start time. So it was awesome. And also I didn't know, and I was almost a little bit surprised at the order that the bands came out in. Now, granted, the first vignette did say, like, I think it said, let's start in the middle. And so at that point, I knew that Jax was coming on first, but I guess I maybe assumed they would just go in chronological order and it would be something corporate first. So I was not going to be upset either way, but that was one of the things that I had no expectations for. But yeah, I mean, as the kids say, we were lit when they came out, for sure.
I know you weren't at Red Rocks, neither was I, but did you see any of the live stream, or did you watch the live stream, or did you watch any of that online?
I watched a couple of the videos. I meant to watch the whole thing, but I just, children, I never got around to it. So.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Cause I watched that live stream live, like while people were experiencing it in real time. And so I had a memory of that. I rarely get a chance to go back and rewatch those things. So, I can say with almost certainty that I probably have never rewatched it, but I did watch it at the time. So I kind of had an idea of how this goes. And I remember being surprised by that too, that Jax was first. So it didn't surprise me this time around. I was like, okay, so they're doing it like Red Rocks. And I don't have a firm grasp on why they did it that way, but kind of mixed it up from our expectations, I guess, in general. So
I intentionally didn't look at set lists ideas or anything. I knew how excited I was for this, that I just wanted everything to be totally novel. So that was cool. I'm almost happy I didn't end up getting around to watching the Red Rocks thing, because this was totally and completely, everything was brand new to me. So
I am glad I watched Red Rocks. It was cool to experience that, but I did know the set. However, here's the thing, because even though I watched it a year prior when it aired, I didn't remember the set list. So most, obviously you can predict like 50% of the set list, probably like the hits, right? But like there was so many times where I was like, I didn't remember they played this one. Whoa, they're playing this one. I can't believe they're doing this one. More than I really expected. I kind of expected like, oh, if they're doing the same set list, then I'll know what's coming next. But I had no idea. And I'm not one. You've probably heard me say this. I'm not one to look at set lists, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't do any research. Again, I saw the show last year, but I did, online, but I didn't. I didn't really know what the set list was going to be, which I like it that way. I don't have a great memory, so which is actually one awesome reason to have these conversations that we're having right now, because it triggers memories for me and helps me kind of I don't know how else to put it, like lock in a memory, like it'll
immortalize it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. It makes it it kind of locks it there. But what I like about going to multiple shows when I get a chance is that I kind of knew the set list the second time through when I saw this month, but I was like, oh, I didn't remember this following that. Oh, I don't remember how he did that. I didn't remember Bobby or Josh coming out at that part, and I didn't remember the. We'll get into it, but like the drum solos or whatever you'd call it, duet. I don't even. You can't call it a duet. I don't know what you call that, but like
you watch a great movie the second time, it gets a little bit better, and you pick up on some of the things you missed the first time.
You put it better than I. Yeah, pick up on different things. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at exactly. So it sounds like it was a pretty good set list for your taste, though.
Yeah, no question. I knew going in I was not going to be upset no matter what. I'm also not a harsh movie critic for the most part either, but like I know that there are very, very few songs that he's sang on that are not like ones I could listen to over and over again. And the ones that I feel that way about generally are the ones he doesn't play very often anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I just knew getting to experience all of these in one set because, as Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness now, he plays music from spanning all the genres, but obviously it's crammed down into a much smaller time frame. And so the set list for me, like I had no plans. I could not have asked for anything more. I was looking over the set list again that we heard, and it was just I was trying to even think of like a song that he didn't play that maybe I was like, I wasn't upset by any of them. I would have loved for him to just play for 12 hours and play everything. But no, I thought he did a wonderful job of, especially at the end of the show when they did the Super Jam and had everybody and just sort of bounced around. I mean, that was so much fun. And the energy was just everybody, it was near the end of the show. And so it was a little bit of a higher energy anyway, because it was nearing the end. But no, the set list was beautiful. It was wonderful.
I did appreciate how they started that Super Jam. They came in off of the B stage performance, which we'll definitely talk about, and then it turned into like both Brian Ireland and Jay McMillan drumming, and then that gave the other band members time to get ready, and then they had all 9 guys on stage at once. That was an emotional moment for me. It kind of crystallized this idea for me. That's like, yes, I knew, I've seen all 3 of his bands and the different iterations on tours. I was fortunate to see them on the cruise on the different nights. And they did all come out for Teenage Rockstars at the end of the last cruise. But for some reason, that drumming and then leading into them all walking out. And then I got to look at the set list to remember what they started with. Dark Blue. Okay, so that makes sense. So then it was like the drum intro. It ended up being the drum intro to Dark Blue, I think, is how they did that. And it was just so emotional. It was like, it almost felt like the end of the show. But then there was like 6 or 7 songs after that moment. So it was like this emotional, like, this is how it all comes together. And we're talking about Andrew McMahon's career from the beginning, from the humble beginnings, if you will, with 5 kids in a garage. And now you've got these 9 guys who have known each other for years and playing together. And they're great musicians, great technical musicians. They know each other so well, and they're just kind of like looking like they're having a great time up there. So that was one of my favorite moments, like going from that drumming into Dark Blue. And I've heard Dark Blue plenty in concert. I love hearing it, but like that moment was more special to me than the song itself.
Because of the lead up and the fact that that when the drumming you were talking about, it was almost like at a time like they were doing like dueling drums. They were
that's a better way to put it. I couldn't think of how to put that.
Yeah, they were like passing the beat back and forth to each other, and it was so well done, and it sort of the rest of all the bands started coming out of the shadows almost a little bit, and there's very few songs that, even though we've heard it a million times, that would make more sense for them to lead into, both from having the drum and having everybody there than Dark Blue to start that Super Jam period. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was, again, I keep saying beautiful, and I can't think of a better word to describe it as somebody who is a diehard Andrew fan. But the artistry of that, everything working together, and the drummers past and present playing off of each other into the music that everybody knows, and start the grand finale there was wonderful for sure.
Yeah. You reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about. I'm curious if your view looked different on this. It's maybe the one criticism I have of the entire show, which has nothing to do with the artists or the performers, in the show. Were there times in the set, because this is what it was like for me. There were times in the set where I couldn't see the other band members. Did you have that problem? Were you looking around the band members and you're like, where's Bobby? Where's Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, I can kind of see them. They're like a silhouette.
They were in darkness, like a lot of the times. Yeah, we were trying to see them, and even if Andrew ran by them and the camera panned on them and you could see the TV, like they were still almost like a shadow in the background, and it felt like they could have done a better job of lighting up the stage to be able to, or putting a spotlight on, even if it's
each
not glaring on everybody. Yeah, right. So we could.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yep, my wife and I chatted about that as well. For sure.
I think they did that better. And I don't know if it's a venue thing or what, and I can't even speculate, but I know that they did it better in Chicago. I can say that. I saw everybody better, and I was about the same distance away. So I don't know. It was an odd thing, and it didn't bug me too much. Like, it definitely didn't ruin any aspect of the show. It was just kind of made me curious. I'm like, I don't think anybody requested this. I think it's just like what it looked like, and inadvertently. So that's probably something that's harder to test. You can sound check, and the sound was great, but you can't really light test in midday. So
yeah, and I may put us on part of a topic on something corporate, but when it came to the show, I know that was who I was most excited to see.
Okay,
given that the only time I had seen something corporate was I think that was a 2010 reunion or something like that.
Yeah.
So I never saw them. Yeah, I never saw them when they were around as an active band, but I saw that reunion tour. And so I told my wife that I was unbelievably excited just to see the members of the band. So that's what drew me to the fact that many of them were like darkened out. I couldn't see them as well. And I was like, I just want to see them rock, because I've only seen them rock once. Like I actually want to see the members specifically of something corporate do their thing up there. And so that's when I kind of noticed that they weren't as lit up maybe as I would have liked for them to have been.
Speaking of something corporate, I don't know, hopefully you got a chance to see this or notice this, but Josh Partington, I've said this on the show before, Josh Partington's so much fun to watch on stage. Dude looks like he's having a blast. Yeah. He is smiling. Yeah. He's doing like the rock and roll faces, and getting really into it. He's fun to watch, have fun.
I expected him to be way sweatier than he was, given that he was wearing a tie and a button-down shirt. So I'm very impressed with his cardio fitness there.
I think he did that every time I saw something corporate a couple of years ago in 2024. I think he dressed that way, and it is surprising. It's like he's got to be more comfortable in a t-shirt, but I understand committing to the part. Like this is how he dresses for the show, so that's cool. And I can appreciate that. But he's still having a blast up there.
My wife, equally so. Something corporate is her least favorite of the three entities. And so
my wife's too, by the way.
I had told her, like, I think when you see them live, which you've never had the opportunity to do, that you're going to really love them. Like that you're going to just learn that, you like some of the main hits and everything. And so that is not only true, but then what she did not realize, and she was on Wikipedia halfway through, is that William Tell, right? That's his name. Mm-hmm. He's married to, what's her name from
Lauren? Is it Lauren?
Lauren Conrad, I think.
Conrad. Yeah. There you go. You got it.
And she loves Lauren Conrad. So she's like, I think he looks familiar. And I was like, I think his name's Will or William. I was like, I don't know that much about him. And she's like, he looks really familiar. So she's like rocking out and Wikipediaing at the same time. And she's like, oh my gosh, I love something corporate now because, he's married to this girl I like and stuff. So that was hilarious as I was watching that live happen at the show. So
I am surprised how many people have made that connection and just like, and it is fascinating, don't get me wrong, But I have several friends who kind of have said the same thing, like, "Oh my, he's Lauren Conrad's husband," which is funny because we think of him as the guitarist of something corporate, but
Yeah.
a lot of the world thinks of him as Lauren Conrad's husband.
Right.
So I don't know a thing. I don't really know much about her. I only know the only things I know about Lauren Conrad are what I've learned from other Soko fans. To be honest, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I'm not a big that sort of genre of TV viewer, so
Right.
I
Yeah.
know nothing about her. I just know he rocks. So
Yeah, he sure does. Yeah.
he's great at harmonizing.
What were some especially standout moments, like standout songs in the sets that you saw?
For me in particular, I don't even know. I'm not good at keeping. I know you're really good at keeping track of things you've seen or songs you've seen or whatever. I just know I enjoy it every time I see it. So
Yeah, that's okay.
I know I've seen Constantine live before, but maybe once, maybe twice, and it's how long has it been? I don't know. So when he played that, I kind of assumed maybe he would, but I never know with that one either. And so that was amazing. And then the other one that I love specifically because I've been messing with my sister on this song since we were in high school is If You See Jordan, because my sister's name is Jordan.
Oh,
So
wow. There you go.
There's only one part of that song that I recorded and sent to her.
Of
I
course.
guess you can probably assume what that is. So that was really cool. And really, I would say if you're asking for one more thing, I could not get enough of the small interlude with Brian and Will doing the thong song and I Love You Always Forever.
Hilarious.
I was dying of laughter. The thong song was hilarious, but I actually loved the song I Love You Always Forever. So I was belting that song out when it came on as well too. So
I wasn't a fan of either song when they were on the radio or whatever, but they've made me like those songs. And I'm like, they had me singing along. Remember toward the end of I Love You Always Forever, he's like, all right, sing with me. And I was singing along as loud and as much as everybody else. Like, I was like, yeah, this is good. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess that song's catchy. I don't know.
Things I did not expect to hear at this show. Those, especially the thong song would have been very high on my list of things that definitely not planning on hearing that. But that was very cool. And it led to them going up and setting up on, do you call it stage B? Is that what it would be called?
Yeah, stage B, the B stage. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was so neat. And I was so pumped for them. I kind of noticed halfway into the thong song, I was like, something's happening like right in front of me, basically.
Oh, it was right in front of you guys. That's right.
Like, we were probably 10, 11 rows back, but in the middle, and that was in the middle. So it was darn near right in front of us. And I saw them starting to set up stuff, and I was like, okay, they're obviously going to play a couple of songs up here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using Brian and Will as sort of a distraction there.
Yeah.
And then they opened up there by playing The Astronaut, which is my favorite Something Corporate song.
Whoa,
and,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, that's when things went a little haywire and their audio wasn't correct, and they shut it down a little bit early, and they ended up moving up back to the main stage and finishing out. I think we had talked, and you said that they were basically just planning on doing The Astronaut and then swim up there, and so in essence, they kind of did The Astronaut, maybe not to its completion, and then Andrew basically was like, all right, I'm going to go play swim back on the piano up here. And if any of my guys can make it down to join me, then so be it. So he basically played that just on the piano by himself up on the main stage after. But yeah, so I'm sad we missed out on a full set of that right in front of me. But
yeah, I am sad for you and everybody up there that you didn't get swim that way. That would have been really cool to see those two songs. I know with The Astronaut, like we learned in real time at the show that Bobby couldn't hear what he was playing in his in-ears, and as a musician that makes it very difficult, right, to follow the music if you can't hear your in-ears for, I'm sure, various reasons that, technical reasons that I don't fully understand. So they did have to stop probably about like 75-80% of the way through the song, maybe even further. I feel like it was getting toward the end, but I could tell like they weren't going to resolve it and the show had to go on. And let's face it, they do have a curfew like at all these outdoor venues. So like you're under a time constraint. You can't take 10 minutes to figure it out. It's just kind of like, all right, go with it. So I was impressed with the ability that they had to pivot. And for me, although again, I feel badly that the people up there didn't get to experience Swim, I loved the way they did Swim. That one surprised me. Swim isn't always a go-to for me. It's not one that, I necessarily look forward to in a set completely. So I was excited to see it in another unique way. It would have been unique on the B stage, don't get me wrong, but like I was thrilled to the piano. It was just the piano. So Andrew went down, sat at the piano, played Swim, but Zach came down and sat down and played the accordion. So up at the B stage, it would have been 2 acoustic guitars and an accordion, no piano. This was piano and accordion, and I thought it sounded great. I couldn't help but take like 30 or 40 seconds of video just so I'd remember what that sounded like, because I was like, I don't think this will probably ever happen again. Yes, we're going to get an Andrew solo tour. We're going to get symphony dates. But like, I don't know, just kind of those unique captured moments that it happened because of the technical difficulties. I was like, oh, that was pretty cool how they pivoted so quick.
I was really excited as it was happening. I was like, Andrew's going to have to move on the fly and get creative. And I was like, I'm excited to see how he resolves this. I know he's going to. He's a maestro of conducting his show. And so he did that well. I also loved when they initially came up, it was almost like he brought a little dream team up. He had Josh Partington, Zach, Bobby, and him up there. And I was like, I saw the instruments that they brought up, and I know the harmonies that those guys create. And I was like, this is about to be so cool right here with just these guys up here. The funniest part for me actually happened from that, because I'm sad that it didn't happen. But Andrew, at some point, he was like talking to Bobby as, they were playing, then kind of not playing, discussing. And then he's like, Bobby, I forget exactly what he said, but he was like, you gotta will it. You gotta push through. And then Bobby, who doesn't speak much, was like, he goes to the mic and he's like, listen, it is not an effort of me not wanting it enough. I want this so bad, but he's just like, I can't hear what you're playing. I thought that was hilarious when he said that.
Yeah, I forgot that he even said that. Yeah, I knew there was like an awkward moment, seemingly awkward moment, but I think they recovered very well. And you know what? From a fan perspective, I was happy with it in the end. So yeah, it was different than the way they intended, but I mean, they came back from it. They were resilient, I'll say.
No question. Yeah, it did not affect my enjoyment of the night. That's for sure.
One that I was kind of surprised that I enjoyed as much as I did. Now, it's not to say I don't normally enjoy the song. I do, but when they played "Kill the Messenger" during the Jack set, which I don't know, I was just kind of surprised by that one. How good that sounded to me. And how into it I was. But I always like that opening piano on that song. So as soon as he starts playing that, I know we're in for it. So I was really glad they played it. And I guess I just wouldn't. That was one of those that I don't remember being on the Red Rock set list. So it was kind of a nice surprise in the set list for me. It was like, oh, they're playing this one. Like of all Jack's songs, they're playing this one. So I was pretty excited about that one.
I did not expect to hear that one either. I really didn't when it came on. You obviously know it from the piano right away, but it is on the Perfect album. So anything that comes out of that, I'm going to be happy with. But yeah. And that's, if that is one of the ones that wasn't on Red Rocks, then that makes me even happier, because it's not a deep cut to me, because I know it so well and listened to it a million times. But maybe if it is one he doesn't play all the time, then that's the one I wanted to hear anyway, because I wanted more deep cuts from this show. So
the coolest moment. So something has been talked about on this show that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. And I think it's just so cool. In the spring, I had on a friend, Andrew Ware, and we talked about Island Radio. And I said to him, I was like, for some reason, and maybe this isn't true, and we even looked it up, and I was like, I think he used to ride the duck in some era of Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. He'd ride the duck during Island Radio. And Andrew's like, yeah, I think that's right. That sounds familiar. Maybe the llama. And we were like, no, that's the la llama. So that can't be right. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure like on one of the cruises or something, maybe it was the Rock Boat years ago. I don't know. But I remember a yellow duck is what reminds me of Island Radio, because it's what made me like that song. I mean, it was a big part of why the live show is what I mean. The live show is what made me like that song a whole lot. And so when he came out on the duck during Island Radio, I was like, oh my gosh, we just talked about this. And furthermore, I had Zach Clark on the show in July, and Island Radio came up because we were talking about he's co-written with Andrew. And he says, yeah, let me tell you about how I wrote that second verse. And he's like, I was about to get on and everybody can go back and listen to this, but like, I'll just paraphrase. I was about to get on a plane and they called me and they said, hey, we're not going to be able to put this on the album unless we have a second verse. So we're going to need something. And within 10 minutes before the plane took off, he called him back and he was like, all right, got it. And he rattled off the second verse. And so wouldn't you know it, at this show, Andrew had Zach sing the second verse of Island Radio, his verse. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is so cool. Like everything is coming together.
I thought that was so neat. And if you've ever listened to Zach, you have probably because you've heard him harmonize for Andrew, but he has an unbelievable voice. He's a freakishly talented musician. And so when that happened, I was reminded again. I even said right then, I was like, I need to go back and like listen to more of his music. And I mean, that was so neat. I did not know, again, I've not listened to that episode. I didn't know that he was on the writing for that or anything, but that makes that even cooler for me. That is so cool to hear about. And then what I actually wrote down, I've seen him go on different inflatables, different times. I've seen him go back to get ridden back and get a shot from a bar before and then get taken back up and everything.
Yeah.
And this was, to me, it felt like the first time I wrote the word duckstructions. He had to give out instructions to people. Like he just got on it and then it like didn't go where it needed to go. And he was like, go, take me that way. I need to go back.
He was doing these hand motions like this.
Yeah. It was like, you have to move me that way. Like it's not happening. But he was still singing perfectly. It didn't sound pitchy or up or down or anything. He's like giving, like I said, duckstructions as it was going on. It was hilarious to watch from and back.
And I don't know if you realized this from your vantage point, but the flat part of that pavilion is very short. So it starts to go up pretty quickly. And again, I can't estimate how many people in that is, but he came up into several rows. So he was over chairs on, permanent seating, and it was tight enough that people could, because I know he gauges it. I've seen him do that at some shows where he has to gauge whether, he can go that way because the crowd's not tight enough or whatever, but he went for it, and man, that man takes risks.
Yeah.
He's
got to be one of the last guys that is doing crazy stuff like that just because he comes from an era of all sorts of body surfing and everything. I know I've heard you talk about that before, but I love that he still does it. I'm happy he doesn't do it without some sort of flotation device anymore. I'm happy he's not actually body surfing, but it is so fun every time he does it.
He did come in the crowd a couple of times. Otherwise, Canyon Moon, he kind of walked on the, I don't know what it was like a wooden wall separating the pit from the seating area, and he kind of walked across it a couple times. That was kind of neat. I wonder if when he comes into these venues and they do their sound check, he kind of looks around with the space, and I'm sure he does. And he's like, all right, what can I get away with? And I wonder if he actually like practices walking along that. Obviously, it's much safer when there's a tight crowd of people below you, because if you do fall, they'll probably help catch you. But like to do that without anybody there might be a little risky. And then during Hurricane, he actually ran out just past my seat. I was right in the middle, so I wasn't anywhere near him, but he ran out past my seat and kind of like got in the section right behind us and kind of stood up. You probably remember that or saw that because he was like standing on, I don't know, another one of those like kind of wooden walls to kind of shout to the crowd in the back of the pavilion and beyond. So that was pretty cool. I always kind of appreciate when he comes out in the crowd and stuff like that.
The first song you mentioned there, Canyon Moon, I think I had seen some videos after, and it looked like the things he was standing on. I was like, oh boy, like he's on some very narrow foothold, and he could have fallen easily. And I was very impressed that he didn't. And then the other one, Hurricane, didn't he basically have to sprint back to the stage to make it just in part for that bridge piano portion of the song?
That's right. He did come up further, didn't he? Yeah. He had to sprint back.
And I watched, somebody pointed that out, because again, I'm just watching, I'm not recognizing, that, but you see him almost like turn, and he's not like on a jaunt. He's like basically running back, and he makes it back like a second and a half before that piano portion in the bridge of Hurricane. And it's like, wow, great internal timing there to know how to get back appropriately that fast.
Right. No, I agree. Any other like funny or fun moments from the sets that you remember that especially jumped out at you?
I mean, the part we haven't touched on is how I had seen, he always plays Cecilia in the Satellite. And this was the first time in a while, and I think he even touched on it, that him and his daughter Cecilia, I didn't actually really know that his family was going to be at these, but I guess it makes sense that they would.
Yeah.
But they were locked in on that song. I mean, she's got a beautiful voice, and they went back and forth on the verses, and that was really, really, that brought a tear to my eye for sure at the end. Again, I think we've all seen her in various forms sing on that song, or at least be up there on that song, but clearly she's taken some ownership of being a part of it. And you could just really see him. And now me as a parent, I understand, like, you can see the proud father in his eye when he's letting her sing. And I could even tell at parts when they're singing together, he either pulls back from the mic a little bit or doesn't sing as loud intentionally so that she gets more of the spotlight essentially on her too. And it was a beautiful thing to see for sure. As I keep saying beautiful, but that was awesome.
No, it was. It was a very special moment that was unexpected because they hadn't done it that way before. So she's come out and sang what I would call backing vocals on that song, but she's never had her own part with the trade-off lead vocals. In his introduction, he kind of indicated that. He's like, this is the first time she's ever sang lead or something. I think he used a different phrase, but that's what he meant. And I identify with all of what you're saying, being a proud father. I have daughters almost the exact same age. So I'm going to echo, it was a beautiful thing. It was very sweet to see, very special. And I think there was this collective, without actually saying the word, aw, I think that's what we were all feeling. Like, oh, like this is so sweet between a father and his daughter, and allowing her the spotlight on his stage to shine with her talents, because I know she's really into performing according to things that he said online. So that's pretty cool.
My final things, because that was the really final special thing. There were two things. That one was a cool fact that I don't know if it then was topped the next week, but he said that was his biggest ticketed or biggest attended event he's ever played for him as the headliner before.
Yeah, more than Red Rocks. That was more people than Red Rocks at that show.
Really cool to be a part of that for sure. When he said that early in the show, how neat was that? And then the other part specific to my love for something corporate, our seats under the sun or under the sky, and his sort of tag to us. He said at one point, I believe it was during Me and the Moon, as his intro to it, he sort of said, like, how about my people out in the lawn seats, look up at the sky. I don't know if the moon's out or anything like that. And I spent a good portion of that song taking that as my second of like gratitude. Like, I'm here at an unbelievable show. I'm in perfect weather under the open sky with my beautiful wife, and just sort of soaking all of this in right here. Like, I'm far from home, relatively speaking. So yeah, that one really hit me there. And it was very just a great moment of gratitude for me, and being thankful for where I was at that moment in time and having that memory forever. So
it's awesome. I had a similar feeling toward the end of the show. One of those moments for me was Constantine. You mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to say I've had the chance to see that's I've been very fortunate to see that song performed a few times. And some people I know it's a long song, and some people think, well, he could play 3 other songs in place of that, or I've seen it enough, or it's been around a long time. I love it every time I see it. It gets me in the heart every time. I'm connecting it with it in new ways lately, with the Did You Know I Miss You, missing people that we've lost. And I a friend of mine made me a bracelet that says, Did you know I miss you? And so I was like, kind of looking at that, kind of really in my feelings during that song. So that one was kind of one of those, but at the same time, identify with the word you said, grateful. At the same time, grateful to be here, grateful to be alive, grateful that we get to have these experiences, and that kind of this community feel, like being in the crowd with Andrew fans, kind of looking around and like seeing everyone else have connect with the music and have such a blast. And then maybe not as emotional, but the other one, kind of like that, this like, wow, I cannot believe I'm seeing this. We were getting to the end of the show, and he played I'm Ready. And I love that song so much. I want to hear it every single Andrew McMahon concert. I don't care what iteration he's in. I want to hear that song. The spoken word bridge, of course, gets me every time. I want to shout it with him. That was a lot of fun. And I remember coming to the end of the show, and like most people in the crowd, I was exhausted. I was like, oh my God, because there was time during that show, I'm going to admit, that I was like, oh wow, this is really long. But at the end of it, it was kind of like this relief, but in a good way. Not that I was glad it was over, but just like, wow, I just got to see like, I don't know how many songs Andrew performed from throughout his career, and the culmination of all of them on stage at the end just kind of brought it full circle for me. And it was just such a really great feeling. I could easily say different from the average concert that I go to.
Yeah, there will never be. Maybe there will be. I hope there is. There is an Andrew experience that tops that. I shouldn't say never, but I've had some pretty wonderful ones, including meeting him countless times, and this was definitely one of, if not the most special one that I've had. And he says he's not going to do this tour with the three of them again. I think he kind of mentioned that. So if that is the case, actually, even more special to have been able to see all of these three acts on one stage and see how they all work together and love on each other and play off of each other and harmonize with each other. And yeah, it was really, really special. Definitely worth the trip from St. Louis to Philadelphia for me, no question.
Yeah, I could say the same from Columbus. It was worth the drive, worth the money, worth the experience, worth everything it took to get there and back. So I really appreciate you coming on here, Brendan, and talking about this with me. Like I said, it's so cool to relive these great memories that we were able to have at an Andrew concert and then kind of process it together. So thank you for that.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm pumped to be here, and I can't wait for our song breakdown that we'll do in the future. But yeah, this was fun to really relive this awesome night.
Yeah, I think we got the songs narrowed down. I think we're going to pick one and go for it. So I look forward to our chat about a song very soon and learn more about you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for joining us for those conversations, and a special thank you, of course, to both Kristin and Brendan for joining me. Really looking forward to more of this. So we'll have an episode on the Chicago shows, of course, while continuing to celebrate 6 years of this podcast about Andrew McMahon songs.